That's fine.
Yeah.
Last year I tried studying with my
All right, good afternoon, everybody. I'm calling this meeting of the Sonoma County Junior College District Board of Trustees to order. I appreciate everyone for attending here in the room and virtually. We'll begin with our land acknowledgement as we always do. We acknowledge that we gather at Santa Rosa Junior College on the territorial traditional land of the Pomo people in Santa Rosa and the Coast Miwok people in Petaluma, past and present, and honor with gratitude the land itself and the people who have stewarded it throughout the generations. As a reminder, public comment will be allowed at the appropriate time. If you are here in person, wish to make a public comment, please get one of the yellow comment cards in the back of the room, and please bring them to the front desk here. If you are online, please wait to raise your hand until instructed to do so by me, and you will be called upon at that point. That brings us to item B1, announcement of reportable actions from our closed session meeting today. There are none. Then that brings us to item B2, approval of our open session agenda. Before we move that, we have a correction to item E5, the CCAP MOUs. It is listed as first reading. It is not a first reading item. It is before the board for approval at this meeting. In addition, one of those CCAP MOUs listed under the item with Petaluma City Schools is not finalized and will need to be pulled from consideration. With that correction, or with those two corrections, do I have a motion and a second from the board to approve the open session agenda? Any public comment here in the room or online on the agenda? Seeing none, we will go first to Student Trustee Clark.
Aye.
All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed or abstain? The agenda is approved. That takes us to item B3, approval of our regular meeting minutes from our last regular meeting. Trustees, do I have a motion and a second to approve the minutes? Any public comments here in the room or online on this item, or members wishing to speak? Seeing none, Student Trustee Clark.
Aye.
All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed or abstain? The minutes are approved. All right, that takes us to item B4, our employee of the month for May 2026, Robin Hernandez, and we have Sarah Lagos giving the presentation. Take it away, Sarah.
Good afternoon, President Shaban, members of the board, Dr. Garcia, and college community. My name is Sarah Lagos. I'm the Executive Director of the SRJC Foundation and District External Relations, and it is my honor to introduce our May Employee of the Month, Robin Hernandez, Scholarship Technician in Student Financial Services. You may be wondering why the foundation nominated an employee from another department for this honor. And the answer is simple. The partnership between Student Financial Services and the foundation is one of the strongest examples of cross-department collaboration at SRJC. Together, we are able to award more than $6 million in scholarships through over 640 scholarship opportunities each year. Work that would not be possible without Robin's expertise, organization, stewardship, and follow-through. Robin plays a vital role in connecting donor generosity with student opportunity. She oversees a highly detailed scholarship process that ensures awards are distributed accurately, equitably, and in alignment with donor intent, helping remove financial barriers for thousands of students while maintaining the trust of our donor community. Robin has been a dedicated member of SRJC since 2003, beginning as a bookstore clerk before becoming a bookstore purchasing specialist, and eventually transitioning into her current role in 2017. A proud Sonoma County native and second-generation SRJC employee, she continues a family legacy of service that began with her father, who managed the bookstore for 30 years. Robin's actual manager, Interim Director of Student Financial Services, Lauren Coburn, was unable to join us this evening, but she shared these words about Robin. She described Robin as someone who brings a steady, calm presence that helps create focus and stability, even during the most demanding situations. Lauren praised Robin's care, precision, and deep sense of responsibility, noting that her ability to organize complex workflows, implement tracking systems, and support new scholarship programs has been invaluable in an ever-evolving field. She also shared that Robin is a collaborative, dependable, insightful, and genuinely invested in the success of those around her, adding that Robin's smile lights up a room and has a way of making even difficult days feel lighter and warmer. The Foundation Scholarship Program is one of the largest out of the 116 California community colleges. Our work is rooted in student success and sustained through strong philanthropic partnerships. Robin plays an essential role in that work. I can't tell you the number of times I've sent a Teams chat, an email message, or a phone call to Robin asking for a quick response to a donor question or concern. She always responds and finds a way to make it work for both students and donors. Robin is key to supporting students while stewarding the vision of our donors. I consider her an honorary employee of the Foundation and essential to fulfilling our mission. Please join me in congratulating Robin Hernandez, our May Employee of the Month, and thank her for the care, professionalism, collaboration, and heart she brings to SRJC every day. So Robin, on behalf of SRJC, we are pleased to present the Employee of the Month plaque, an all sports season pass, theater arts tickets, a gift certificate for you to the Culinary Cafe, and on behalf of all of us, a gift certificate to Stark's Restaurant so you can enjoy a night out.
I'll just say thank you. I'm really appreciative of this.
On behalf of the Board of Trustees, congratulations, and we'll always let folks make their graceful exit if they don't want to sit through the rest of the board meeting, but congratulations. That brings us to item B5, installation of our 2026-2027 student trustee, Jason Reed. All right. Is the microphone on over there too? So they can. All right. So please repeat after me. I, Jason Reed, do solemnly affirm.
I, Jason Reed, do solemnly affirm
that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States.
That I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States.
And the Constitution of the State of California.
And the Constitution of the State of California.
Against all enemies, foreign and domestic.
Against all enemies, foreign and domestic.
That I will bear true faith and allegiance to the Constitution of the United States.
That I will bear true faith and allegiance to the Constitution of the United States.
And the Constitution of the State of California.
And the Constitution of the State of California.
That I take this obligation freely.
That I take this obligation freely.
Without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion.
Without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion.
And that I will well and faithfully discharge.
And that I will well and faithfully discharge
the duties upon which I am about to enter.
The duties upon which I am about to enter.
Congratulations. You are duly sworn in. And if you would like to say some words, please go ahead.
I would actually, thank you. I'd first like to thank everybody in this room right now. I'd also like to thank the students of this college, this district, for voting me in. I appreciate the opportunity, and I'm going to commit to this role as a student that is very committed to collaborative spirit, to inclusivity. I'm going to bring a lot of energy to this role, and I super appreciate everybody for being here tonight and allowing me to give you these words as well and holding the space for it. Thank you.
Thank you. Looking forward to working with you. That brings us to item B5, public comments. As a reminder, each speaker will have 3 minutes to address the board, up to 20 minutes maximum per subject. When you go up, please state your name and any affiliation for the record. I'm going to start with public comments here in the room first, and then move online, starting with Professor Hamzahi from the forensics program.
All right, thank you so much for having me, President Garcia, Board of Trustees, community members, faculty, SRJC, everyone here. My name is Dr. Joshua Hamzahi. I'm the director of the Forensic Speech, Debate, and Performance team here, and we had another great season. What we'll do for you here is give you a quick overview of our on-campus activities over the season, our competitive success, 2 quick examples of performances, and then I'll wrap it up for you, just like we have the last 8 semesters here. And so a quick overview for our season on campus. We not only hosted our intercollegiate tournament in October with about 25 different schools from across the country coming here to our campus to perform. In January, we hosted about 600 high school students here with the help of the foundation, custodial services, and many other folks to bring them onto this campus. They're competing in speech, debate, and performance. Thank you very much. In April, we hosted our sold out showcase over at Newman Auditorium. And this past Friday, we just had our intramural tournament with about 175 students competing and participating. Dr. Garcia came and judged our final rounds as well too. And so we've been reaching out with on-campus events all season. Second, we'll head to our competitive successes. We had It's my 4th year here, and every year we just keep getting stronger. We had about 50 students enrolled each semester in Com 52 and forensics. Second, we received about 250 to 300 awards all season, either individual awards or team sweepstakes awards of the best speeches, debate performances around the country. Third, at our national tournaments for the 2nd year in a row, we were national champions in our division, which is why you see something like this, as well as tons of the other awards. Second, we'll get to the applause. Don't even worry about it. Second, we had this top speaker in the country once again. Different student. Last year was Salvatore Barone. This year was Annabelle Thatcher. You might have seen at other showcases as well. And then we took a couple students to the 4-year national tournament, where we were only the 2nd community college ever to have a student win an event at the 4-year nationals, meaning we're just as valid and credible and strong as those 4-year teams. And then lastly, I'll throw myself out there. I won the Forensics Visionary Award for coaches over in January from the Hell Froze Over tournament, which is like the winter national tournament. And so that's a bunch of our awards. And so to see a little bit of an example of a couple things that we do, I'm going to show you a quick 2 minutes of an informative speech from one of our students, as well as a performance. And I'll explain what that looks like in just a second. So first off, you're going to see an informative speech, which is, think of it like a TED Talk from one of our students, Soren Chavon, who's won first place at multiple tournaments with this. And you'll just see the first 2 minutes. If you're interested in more, see us afterwards. And so first up, let's hear from Soren Chavon.
I have a confession I cannot take to the grave. I am a taphophile. Don't know what taphophilia is? Increasingly anxious, it's kinky. Taphophilia is a love for cemeteries and all memorial graveyards entail. I've been to over 40 in 5 countries. A cemetery enthusiast, aka tombstone tourists, might be morbid, but this pastime has been around for millennia. However, less people today are visiting cemeteries. Even less think about the day they might move into one permanently. According to a 2025 Funeral and Memorial Information Council study, 69% of Americans want to plan their funeral, but only 17% do. Why does this matter? Well, cemeteries are more than dead space. They are living classrooms of history. These public spaces preserve stories of migration, art, faith, and social struggle. But today, many are on the verge of disappearing, along with the histories buried within.
So that was an example of a public address speech. Think of it like a TED Talk. We have several different categories. Next up, you're going to see an example of a performance. Think of it kind of like a monologue. The one you're going to see is called a program, where they use multiple characters in the same piece. And they have a little black book, which is just a nod to the history of the activity. And so you'll see them give about 3 or 4 different characters, close the book, and give your academic argument, which is what changes this up from theater and makes it more communication. They tell you why they're arguing what they're arguing, why they're using the literature they are, and making a justification behind it. And so next up, you'll see Hannah.
Can the camera see me? I'm not sure. Okay, thank you. Give us your tired, your poor, and your huddled masses, and let them compete in the USA Immigration Initiation, a reality show only on Fox. The Department of Homeland Security is considering a television show that would have immigrants compete for American citizenship. Christy Nome is joining us now. Shh. I want to be spoon-fed ambient culture and high-stakes trash. I do not want intellectual. I do not want subtitles. I want my personality to be consumed. I want real people to withdraw from me. And I want somewhere to project my misfired hatred. As a white mother of 3 biracial boys and a spouse to a roofer from Chile, 3 years ago, I had to sit outside U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services courtroom, as my husband had to offer testimony for resident status. I didn't know if he would be sent back or not. This wasn't like how it was on TV. In 1984, media theorist Neil Postman said that we are amusing ourselves to death. Even 40 years later, we are running away from reality and consuming human suffering. Our country is gluttonous on content. Our president is a reality TV star. Debates are about ratings. Social media is becoming a confessional booth, and immigrants are being treated like contestants, not people. When our media is being orchestrated by a primarily white privileged demographic for a primarily white audience, what does it mean if we all keep watching? A program, Survivor.
Thanks so much, Hannah. As you can see, much of what we do is not only researching, writing, performing, but also helping students advocate for things they care about that are issues that are happening in the world. And so a couple last things before I head out. We're on our way to our biggest team yet. If anyone wants to join, whether you're students, community members, all are welcome. Second, your voice matters. One thing to think about in this world of AI, that's the one thing they can't probably take away from you is your voice and how you use it. And so we're definitely a great stepping stone to help our community do that as well. And then lastly, thank you so much for your attention. If you'd like to support us in any way, come join our kickball game against the Oak Leaf on Thursday at 3:30 p.m. at the softball field. We're 2-2 and we need some ringers. And so we'll definitely take everyone involved. But thank you so much for having us and enjoy the rest of your board meeting.
Thank you. Let's see. Next up, I see Nick Wild. This says agenda item 9, but you could either do this now or on the specific agenda item. It's your prerogative. Is it E9 or E9? Okay, yeah, please, if you go to the podium, back, no, the podium behind you so that it'll pick up for the folks watching online. Yeah, just right there. Perfect.
Thank you. I'm here to speak in general in support of free speech policies on campus across the board, regardless of ideology, affiliation, or social status, specifically in support of human rights. Palestinians deserve human rights, and any school administration seeking to subtly or overtly crack down on free speech and freedom of association, freedom of worship, etc., all guaranteed and protected under the First Amendment, should be shunned in an institution of higher education. Speaking in support as well for faculty who need adequate representation on campus. And I just encourage everyone in the audience today to stand up and speak to the pressing issues we're all looking at facing right now. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, I don't have a last name, just Jace.
Hi there, my name is Jace Kaldunsky. I am the program coordinator for our Disability Cultural Center on campus. We are up on the third floor of Bertolini. If you have not checked us out before, come stop by. We are a student center supporting all of our disabled students on campus. We work with DRD, but we are a separate department. They support students inside of classes. We support outside of classes. So part of our supports we have for students are access to basic needs, community, social, emotional, life skill workshops, therapy dogs twice a month. There's all sorts of fun stuff up there, connections to on-campus and off-campus resources. And one of our supports that we have for students is a monthly disability support, or a weekly disability support group, that meets every Monday in our space. And 2 weeks ago, we put together this DCC collective zine. This is all input from disabled students about their experiences of just being disabled, living with that identity and the intersectionality that comes with it. And they asked if we would come and just share it. So it will be up in the DCC in our space on the third floor if you would like to swing by. And Rachel has a few words too. She also wanted to share. So the big thing is we just wanted to come just promote our space. A lot of people on campus don't know about us and just think we are DRD, but we are separate.
Hi, I'm Rachel. I'm a student worker at the Disability Cultural Center. Yes, jumping off of Jace, I really like the metaphor. The Disability Resource Department allows us to enter the classroom, but the Disability Cultural Center allows us to belong in the classroom. I lead the weekly support group for all the disabled students on campus, where we made this wonderful poster. We do a lot of discussions, activities, and I can go on and on about all the things I love about that group, but I'd rather just read out to you the wrap-up words at the end of every group. I ask everybody to give me a word, a couple words of emotion, something that you learned, your experience of the past hour, and this is the list in the past year. Connection, powerful, seen, enlightened, worthy of love, held, calming, new friendships, not alone, belonging, and community. So today I just want to remind you guys the Disability Cultural Center is up there and we would love to have you come visit on the third floor of Bertolini.
We're the first California community college to have a Disability Cultural Center on campus. We are the second community college in the nation with a DCC. There are only 21 others in the US. So it's a cool thing we have here. Come see us. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, we have Katie McComb.
Good afternoon, trustees and President Garcia. Thank you so much for the opportunity to address you. I'm here today as the co-president of the Transit Access Club, and I'm also part of the We the Future Research Fellowship. Thank you so much. The last time I addressed you, I was inviting you all to the Transit for Higher Education Conference. Thank you so much to Trustee Fishman for attending. It was really important to have you there and participate. And I'm here today to request that as you face this difficult chapter of budget cuts, that you remember your role as our access to the democratic process. In my research, I did create an organizational chart, and you're right here. This is our access to our elected officials. We're down here as students. So in the process, I just wanted to emphasize that Sonoma State University could be considered a cautionary tale because the morale there was so gutted. And I personally have had to I will be moving out of the country because of the program they cut. Their international relations program was cut, and now I'm moving to Vancouver, Canada to pursue international studies. And I wanted to just request that you maintain the contact with the democratic system and encourage as much student participation in the budget cutting as possible. Include us in the problem solving because there's so much innovation that can happen within the collaborative process. The Transit Access Club that hosted the transit conference was able to come up with a lot of amazing and interesting ideas that had to do with trustees, students, and other parts of the government. And at a time when all of our democratic systems are under attack, this is a place where we can model a different outcome and a different type of process. It's a difficult time, and the civic engagement that can happen among students as citizens and as residents of Sonoma County is incredibly powerful. And we've experienced that in addressing transit all the way up to our congressional federal level of government as students. And so I just encourage you to continue to pursue that and say that students have solutions for enrollment, education, and employment. And a shout out to transit that helps people get here and enroll and be in classes. So thank you.
All right, thank you.
This is also a giveaway if anyone wants this chart.
All right, next up we have April Oliver.
Good afternoon, board and Board of Trustees and President Garcia. My name is April Oliver. I am the chair of the English for Multilingual Students Department and the outgoing chair for College Skills and Adult Education. Both departments house the majority of our non-credit programs. And I actually am here today just to express my gratitude for all of the work that's being done for our non-credit programs. First of all, I want to thank all of you for the work that's been done on the Roseland Center and the changes that are happening there. I just want to add a little glimmer of faculty perspective because I came here in 2003 when we first got the Workforce Investment Act grant, which is now the WIOA grant, and Marty Estrin applied for that, and Ellen Licht, who is retiring this semester. Both of them were instrumental with this grant, and it has brought the college millions of dollars through the hard work of our non-credit students. And so I want to show appreciation for that. I also want to say thank you to VP Holcomb and the HSI Advisory Committee for the IEPI grant we received. We were able to put on 5 events this semester alone for non-credit, and I just want to really share my gratitude, and I'm sorry if I forget anyone, but I want to say thank you to facilities, custodial services, media services, the faculty and staff and classified staff who worked on that as a team and just kind of held everything together. Everything went off without any problem. So I appreciate that. I also want to express my gratitude to Academic Senate for their support of non-credit programs and also AFA for working to make Roseland an even better place to work. So I appreciate all of that. And I know there's a million people that I want to thank, but I also want to recognize SGA and President William Garcia and VP Ben Alcantar for the work that they've done to advocate for non-credit students. I think it's a great beginning, and I would love to continue to collaborate with SGA on that work. And I also finally want to end just to thank my dean, Dr. Rome Romanoli, for the continued advocacy for our programs. It's going to be a hard thing when Rome is no longer here. So I can't express how much I'm grateful for that. So I just want to say thank you. We're making some good progress with non-credit. We still have a lot of work to do. We need to still continue to fight for equity, but I just wanted to tell you also how grateful I am for all the work that's been done. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, we have Jordan Tauser-Pardo.
Hi, I am Jordan Tauser-Pardo. I want to take a moment to sincerely thank both the board and Human Resources for listening to me over these past years. I've come here month after month, filed multiple grievances, and continued speaking up because I believe these concerns matter. At times, the process was frustrating, especially when communication felt limited or unclear. But despite that frustration, I just really want to acknowledge that I feel so heard today. I appreciate the actions that have been taken, including the decision to remove Hillman. That decision gives me a sense of validation and relief after a very long and difficult process. I also want to thank those of you who came to the show. Your presence meant a great deal, and it showed that people were willing to listen and show up for the SRJC dance community. So we thank you so much for that. More than anything, I appreciate finally feeling that my concerns were taken seriously. Thank you for your time, for listening, and for your willingness to act. Lastly, I want to give a big shout out to Michael Vanderpoort and appreciate his constant efforts to make SRJC better for all. I don't think he's here today, sadly, but I'm going to miss hearing his monthly board meetings too. And I might have to stop by from time to time. However, I hope to never have to speak here again unless it's for something joyous and uplifting. I'm sure you're all tired of me too. Thank you though for hearing me, for seeing me and the administration, just looking out for all of your students. I look forward to celebrating on July 1st. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Next up, Janelle Tauser-Pardo.
Hate going after her. Hi, I'm Janelle Tauser-Pardo, and I wanted to take a moment as well to sincerely thank the board and the administration for taking action with this CAD department. Sorry. It's been a long 2 years. I know decisions involving faculty and personnel are never simple, easy, or made lightly. But I also know that students pay attention to whether concerns are heard, whether their professionalism matters, and whether the learning environment is being protected. For many students, Santa Rosa Junior College represents opportunity, growth, and trust. That trust depends on accountability. When the college demonstrates that standards apply to everyone, it strengthens confidence in this institution and shows students that their voices and experiences matter. I also want to acknowledge that it has taken nearly 2 years to get to this point. At times, that process was frustrating, and there were moments when many of us wondered whether anything was actually happening, but we remained hopeful that behind the scenes, the administration and board were listening, investigating carefully, and working through the proper process to reach a responsible decision. And you did that. It is my hope that all that have received the wrath of one ex-faculty member will feel vindicated and find the action of the board healing. I want to publicly acknowledge how proud I am of my daughter, Jordan. Even though she's graduated and at another institution, she has never given up on her mission to stand for what is right and to protect the dancers and stellar program here at SRJC. I want to acknowledge the bravery of all the students and faculty that stood up and said, enough. Thank you for hearing the students' concerns and for taking actions that reflect the values and standards this college should uphold. We will all sigh a relief on July 1st. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, I believe it's Arlie Rodas-Lara.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Arlie Rodas-Lara, and I am the HOPE Program Coordinator. I just came here to share about the impact of our recent Caminos en Salud Pathways in Healthcare conference. It was a collaborative event effort between HOPE and Avanzando. It was more than a campus event. It was a community center space that brought together students, families, healthcare professionals, and regional partners. We had a strong presence of community members throughout the day. And our funder, Kaiser Permanente, was in attendance and able to witness firsthand the impact of their investment in the HOPE program. What made this event especially powerful was representation. Many of our students are first generation, and they're from historically underrepresented backgrounds. And at this conference, they saw healthcare professionals who look like them and who shared lived experiences. And that kind of visibility is incredibly powerful. It builds confidence, it builds belonging, and it builds a clearer sense of what is possible for our students. We also intentionally incorporated Spanish translation throughout the event, which is kind of unheard of. I haven't seen of any events that have put the work in to have this available to our community members and our students. And it allowed families and community members not just to attend, but to fully participate and understand how important it is to have support like that of the HOPE and Avanzando programs. And it created a space that was truly inclusive and reflective of the communities that we do serve. This conference was also held in special significance as it was one of Avanzando's final events as they come to a close due to HSI funding no longer being supported. It was a celebration of the program's impact and a reminder of how important culturally responsive spaces like this are for students and families. The feedback from students was overwhelmingly positive. They left feeling more motivated, more connected, and more confident in their pathways into healthcare. And we did receive a lot of students asking if this was going to happen again in the future years. I do want to be transparent. We had to say no because unfortunately, due to Avanzando not continuing, and I am the only full-time staff on the HOPE program, it's just not sustainable to execute such a large event that we had this year. So unfortunately, it won't continue, but hopefully in the future, I have hope for HOPE to continue this event. Thank you. That said, this event shows what is possible with the right level of support and this kind of impactful and community engaged programming that can continue to grow and benefit our students, specifically in healthcare. So thank you all for your support.
Thank you. I do not have any more comment cards here in the room. Is there anyone else in the room wishing to provide public comment? Seeing none, is there anyone online wishing to provide public comment? There is one. Joel, please go ahead. You have 3 minutes.
Okay. I'm Joel Newberg, adjunct instructor, and I'm speaking on behalf of our union. The California Federation of Teachers comprises 147 local unions representing over 193,000 education workers from early childhood through university. These AFT-CFT local unions can be found throughout the state. Some local units include Petaluma Federation of Teachers, Dominican College Culinary Institute in Napa, and the 10 campuses of the UC system. We thank the district for your continued support since the 1960s, especially for the recent approval of our salary increase. We strive to continue seeking parity with the other SRJC non-credit, non-academic instructors going forward. The Lifelong Learning Program is a lifeline for many of our students suffering a sense of community, offering a sense of community as well as intellectual enrichment. During our negotiation, the district shared with us the growth of the Lifelong Learning Program, the onboarding of 8 new instructors, and the support for the future of the program. We were very surprised to hear a few weeks later that the district unilaterally was to cut 10 sections and push out the start of classes due to the misallocation of FTEs. There has been a series of changes in communication from the administration. It wasn't until May 5th that the district agreed to speak with us to provide background information for this decision. We were told that low enrollment classes and sections not staffed were eliminated for fall 2026. Local 1946 should have been consulted about these planned cuts. While the district has rights to adjust schedules, the financial impact to the members is a matter of great importance to our faculty. Our faculty depends on this income, and a decrease in sections financially impacts them. However, in this case, the faculty impacted do not have any remedy to increase enrollment in low enrollment classes in fall 2026 per the contract. We are also concerned about the message that this sends to our students who expected to enroll in these classes. There is a cascading effect on our lifelong learning community that this program is in jeopardy. We understand that SRJC has a substantial budget shortfall. However, we ask the district to work with the SRJC AFT and not unilaterally decide to impact the lifelong learning program, students and instructors in the future. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any further public comment online? No? Seeing and hearing no further public comment in the room or online, I am closing the public comment, and we are moving on to item B6, monthly updates, an informational item. It's really important, that we get input from the student perspective, and one of the longstanding positions on our board is a student trustee. Several years ago, the legislature passed a law, which I think is a good law, which has the student trustee cast their advisory vote before the rest of the board to really make sure that that is communicated. And this year, it's been a pleasure to have student trustee Kaya Clark as the representative of the student voice on our board. She's been very dutiful, as I'm sure many of you have heard from her reports out at these board meetings. It's definitely a time commitment on top of academics and everything else. So as your term in office is coming to an end, on behalf of the Board of Trustees, I'd like to, thank you and present you with this certificate of recognition. Why don't we have the full board come out, and we'll do a photo with you and the recognition. But everybody join me in giving a round of applause for our student trustee. Again, thank you and congratulations. We'll come to your remarks shortly. We'll turn it over to Dr. Garcia first, and I know she'll want to say a few words as well.
Good evening, SRJC community, President Shaban, trustees. We have definitely entered what we lovingly call the 100 Days of May. It is a lot of celebrations, a lot of recognitions, a lot of getting to the finish line. But I would like to begin by congratulating Robin Hernandez on being selected as Employee of the Month. I had the pleasure of connecting with her, and I wasn't even sure if she was going to approach the mic. So wherever she is, I just really want to thank her for her service and the work that she does in the scholarship process. Want to say congratulations and welcome to student trustee-elect Jason Reed. I'm excited to work with you, to support you as you engage in this role as a student leader, and to know that you have this entire board working with you, alongside you, behind you. So we'll look forward to having you join officially at your first board meeting next month. And as has already been shared, student trustee Kaya Clark, thank you for your service, your leadership, your thoughtful representation of SRJC students. You took the duties of this role incredibly seriously. You were a student of all the work that needed to be done. You were incredibly humble and also a fierce advocate to represent the student voice. So congratulations to you on a very successful year as student trustee. This year, we also have a few of our colleagues who have been in leadership positions. So I want to acknowledge that William Garcia, as the SGA president, this will be his last meeting. And as you heard my colleague April share earlier, leadership of this SGA certainly to engage non-traditional students in the government process has been exceptional. Our colleague Sarah Wiley ends her service as AFA president. I'm grateful for her leadership, engagement, and collaboration, especially during these board meetings and during College Council, which is where we get a lot of our governance board policies work completed. I would like to take this opportunity to address the questions and concerns regarding our lifelong learning program. SRJC continues to serve its mission, which includes supporting all of our students in the lifelong learning program. I want to clarify that this program continues to serve an important part of our community, and that during the scheduled development process, the Vice President of Academic Affairs, academic deans, and department chairs work collaboratively to develop a schedule that is within its faculty allocation and helps to meet the needs where students have interest. I hope that my remarks help to ease some anxiety and concerns that have arisen over the past few weeks, and want to encourage that any students who have questions regarding this program to please reach out to Dean Josh Adams or Vice President of Academic Affairs, Dr. Robert Holcomb. They are more than willing to help answer your questions about courses in your area. As we come to the last few weeks of this academic year, there really is a lot to celebrate and affirm. We have a group of contract faculty who have earned tenure beginning fall of 2026, an achievement of the highest honor in education because it underscores the expertise, teaching, and contributions that faculty have made and will continue to make. We have SRJC graduates that are transferring and moving on to the next phase of their journey. And among some of the recent events and celebrations, I've had the chance to meet some students like Michelle from EOPS. She graduates this spring and is transferring to UC Santa Cruz to pursue her education in social work. As a single mom, she and her daughter grew up here at SRJC, as she describes. Her daughter has been in the Child Development Center program while she has pursued her academics, held on-campus jobs, and navigated the many challenges that presented themselves to her. Met Puente students, even as recent as this past weekend, who celebrated achievements at SRJC Petaluma, and in several cases, revealing kind of at the mic their final destination. So students, first gen students who were deciding between UC Davis and UC Berkeley, between UC San Diego and UCLA, just showing the incredible talent and brilliance that students have, that students are transferring with options because of the work not only that they put in, but the supports that they receive. I had the chance to meet and see the work of students in the architecture club who designed, built, and transported into the wilderness and lived in this structure for 2 nights as part of Design Village at Cal Poly SLO. With their faculty advisor, Peter Lavelle, they earned one of the 4 top awards in this competition, Best in Construction, in their inaugural participation year. As one student shared, having the chance to create something so special was possible because of spaces like the Lindley Center for STEM. They had the classroom, technology, and the structure that allowed them to flow in between those spaces so openly and deliberately designed. Met so many students in career education. They've completed their programs. They're launching their own businesses. Some of them received promotional opportunities. I met a student who just accepted a sous chef position at a local prestigious restaurant. So we have students that are making movements. They are moving in their journeys. Scholar athletes who've achieved state championship recognition, such as Luana did in SRJC's inaugural year of women's wrestling. That students are setting new records in cross country, swimming, basketball, soccer, and even this week we have softball and baseball, both teams advancing in the championship series. And just as a reminder, these scholar athletes are full-time students. Engaged not only in their sport, but in their studies. And many of them go on to transfer and continue on, some even to play at 4-year institutions. And why am I sharing all of this? Well, SRJC students are brilliant and talented. They're a reminder of why I'm here in this seat as the superintendent president. They've had experiences and earned awards in academic programs and departments. So we heard from Dr. Hamzi and the forensic speech and debate team, whom you heard from today. I did not plan this, but journalism and Oakleaf is in the room. And as you see, they have their most recent magazine that is out. Student artists who are showing their work for the first time in a gallery exhibit in Doyle. SRJ students are talented and brilliant, and I absolutely love that they continue to make choices to pursue their academic and career journey. There are many elements, both internal and external, that impact SRJC. Some recent examples include external elements such as the Canvas system going down for almost a week, continued attacks on the value of higher education, the fiscal realities at local, state, national level, and just the turmoil that public education systems in our county must overcome. I think we are so amazing as an institution. Today we had Dr. Marlene Orozco, a sociological economist expert, provide a talk as part of the Del Monte lecture series. And her topic was today, Immigrant Pathways to Economic Mobility. It was rich with data, provided a framework that highlights how stability is economic development. In our county, foreign-born individuals make up 17% of our residents. That's roughly 1 in 6. And 29% of them are unauthorized or considered not to be here with, quote unquote, the right paperwork. But of those folks, and this isn't a key piece, 60% have been here for 20 years or more. So when we talk about immigrants in our community and immigrant students, we are talking about generations of folks who have been here. And those are students that we care about very deeply because students should be able to move up. This is what Dr. Orozco said. Students should be in community college, students should be able to move up, step sideways, pause, return, and still keep momentum. That is the beauty of a community college education. And for 107 years, SRJC has done that, has done so as a stable influence in our community. And our mission is clear. We offer exceptional teaching and learning in support of associate degrees, certificates, transfer preparation, workforce preparation, and lifelong learning. And we do so with faculty and classified professionals and managers who all care very deeply to work together. I offer the biggest congratulations to all students. You're not quite done. We still have maybe that final paper, final exams next week. So don't run out of the pilas, don't run out of your batteries just yet. To faculty, thank you. Hang in there as you continue to finalize and grade and read through everything. To classified professionals who've been working around the clock, especially with our banner integration, really grateful for that work. And for this board, a lot of gratitude for your leadership and your commitment to students. I look forward to seeing not only you all, but all graduates on May 23rd for commencement this year, starting at 8 a.m. because we have that many students graduating, and we want to make sure no one gets heat exhaustion. It's been a long year. It's been a hard year, but it has been a good year. And I don't want us to lose sight of the really good work that we have done throughout the year. So with that, that concludes my remarks for this evening.
Okay. Thank you. Next, we'll go on to the bond update from Stephanie Jarrett.
Good afternoon, President Shaban, members of the board, President Garcia, and college community. I have an exceptionally brief update this month. Our first item is the Race Classroom Project. The scope of work involves converting existing office space in Race Hall into one classroom to better serve health sciences. Construction is set to begin in just 2 days, and completion is still anticipated for this summer. So looking forward to bringing back some progress photos next month. And then moving on to our Petaluma campus, this project involves minor renovations to refresh media services and to create tutorial space for students. On today's agenda, there is a board item for approval to award contract to Murray Building in the amount of $655,900, and completion is expected for January 2027. There are no other project-related items on the agenda today, so that concludes my report. Any questions? I said
Thank you.
brief.
I appreciate the update. Next up, our student trustee report. Kaya Clark, please go ahead.
Good afternoon, Board President Shaban, board members, President Garcia, and our college community. Thank you for my last opportunity to update you all. Before I start, thank you for the plants and the plaque. I was not expecting this. They're very beautiful. This report was really hard to write. While being the student trustee isn't any more special than any other job at the college, it's very special to me. It's something I've poured blood, sweat, and tears into, which my colleagues and friends can attest to. Reflecting on this year made me focus on the conversations I contributed to, the policies we passed, and the students who were helped, but also about everything I didn't get to because life got in the way. I burned out, or I had assigned myself more than I could accomplish. While there is so much I could talk about, I'll try not to pass my 5 minutes too far. While reflecting, I realized this position taught me far more than how to complete projects. It taught me how to reach out and share a burden with another, no matter how uncomfortable it may be, how to love others unconditionally, how to navigate power, and that the Book of Robert's Rules of Order can actually be helpful sometimes. I started out in leadership last year as a freshman with little to no prior experience, which came with a lot of hard work and equally as much self-doubt. I know I usually keep this part of my report for business, but I think it's important to name the things that happen in leadership. I worked with people who didn't see governance as a place for women, people who only served for their personal benefit, and people who tarnished the work I did despite not having any of their own to show for. You learn to work with people you may have conflict with, and you learn not to let it affect your passion. I've seen myself burn out, and I've seen my friends that I work with burn out, and despite everything, we all still show up. Earlier this semester, I wrote an essay for my English class about why I'm pursuing higher education. I shared part of it with Dr. Garcia during one of our recent check-ins, specifically how I see the opportunity to be pressured as a privilege. In this essay, I talked about growing up in a stunted family where high expectations were placed on me but weren't reflected amongst the people I lived with. I felt stunted throughout high school and had too much on my plate to enjoy school or extracurriculars, so I made a deal with myself to actually believe in my ability to try once college began, meaning I would be starting from scratch as an amateur. The word amateur comes from the Latin word amare, which means to love, to do things for the love of it, even if it may be hard. Through starting in a club, to being recruited into SGA, to signing onto a million projects, I've realized how important these opportunities are and the real privilege of having these chances to grow and express yourself. To quote my essay, with that, it is a privilege to have options of extracurriculars, but also a privilege to deny them. Having the ability to accept or reject opportunities requires time, stability, and access. It implies that I am not deciding between a club meeting and a paycheck. Even the ability to pass up a chance, trusting that another will present itself in the near future, warrants a certain level of assurance. Having access to those opportunities, something that is not evenly available to all of our students, also meant learning what to do with them. Being the student trustee reinforced the importance of showing up imperfectly rather than not showing up at all, staying curious, and above all, embracing agency, the ability to make decisions and act independently, the ability to transform knowledge into action so that it doesn't stay stagnant. I'm grateful for the opportunity to lead in my own way with grace and to rewrite the idea of what leadership has to look like while still achieving the things we wish to change. Giving each other grace as a community in the political field is one of the biggest things we can practice if we want to move away from the ways politics drives people apart. I strongly believe that we get out what we put into our roles, and the goal is to be able to say that we tried our best. A lesson I learned this year from one of my advisors is that accomplishment and success are not only defined by how many projects we finish or policies we pass, but also by how many mistakes we make. It shifted my perspective to pay attention to the many trials I've encountered this year and to see the beauty in struggling, fighting, and coming out in a different place. I've made countless errors. I've watched others slip up. I've been dealt a lower hand from group mistakes. It's a human attribute to not be perfect, and it's been one of my biggest challenges to learn to let go of chasing perfection. That being said, we can all strive to be better and work towards a brighter future, and we can start by recognizing our flaws and lesser than proud moments. Thank you to students for my purpose. Thank you to my advisors for their guidance, my peers and fellow officers for carrying this work alongside me, and to faculty and staff for believing in student leadership. Thank you, Trustee Fishman, for being an amazing mentor, and thank you to the President's Cabinet for connecting with students whenever you can. Out of everyone, I especially wanted to thank our next student body president and my best friend, Diego Roman. He isn't here today, but he's had a rough few days and I wanted to recognize him. He's been there when I wanted to resign, when I was frustrated, when I wanted or needed someone to talk to. He told me once that I inspired him to do more, that I made him want to be better. Hearing that from someone who helped me see the world isn't such a scary place to be yourself in is something I will continue to be grateful for. With that, I'd also like to congratulate Jason Reed for becoming our next student trustee. Both Roman and Jason will be amazing leaders during their future terms, and I have faith in you too and all incoming officers. Congratulations. Thank you for letting me be an amateur, for being considerate of mistakes, for cheering on student efforts, and most importantly, thank you for this privilege of pressure. That concludes my report.
Thank you for that wonderful report. We'll now move on to board member comments and to see who can match that. Any board members with comments? Seeing and hearing none, we will go. Oh, sorry, I didn't see that.
No, that's okay.
Trustee Fishman, go ahead.
Yeah, it's end of the year and I just want to, I'm not going to list, all the things that all of us have been doing and the things I've attended and, I've attended and the angst I share for not attending certain events. But I just want to thank you all for your effort. I want to say something to Kaya or maybe to all of you. When we first met, we had conversations about, well, what should I say in my board report? And I said, say anything you want. Just say it so people can hear. So I've never met, well, you know what I mean, right? Say it so people can hear. And say it in a way that people will open up to listen to what you have to say. And, I'll never write as well as this woman. I mean, I swear, she's extraordinary. And coming in, I know that you've all sat and listened to this, and it's the way she crafts what she is going to say, and the things that she has said that needed to be said for advocacy for students has been really extraordinary. And so I just want to publicly thank you. And the rest can go away.
All right. Any other board members? I'm looking for, yes. All right, you can go ahead.
Yeah, I also just want to thank everybody and just acknowledge it's just been one of the fun things about May, in addition to it being crazy, is as board members, we get to have the privilege of going to a lot of, the end events and seeing all the student accomplishments and achievements, from the arts, from science to political advocacy. And it's just really impressive and just a really nice way to end the year and feel like, sitting in on all these meetings and reading lots of reports and working on budgets. The real purpose is so that we can, we get to see what all the students are doing at the end of the year, which is just, again, really, really impressive. And I also want to acknowledge, again, serving all students and not just maybe some of the students who are transferring, but it's also been impressive. We've been getting a lot of letters because of the misinformation about the lifelong learning program that has confused people about I think the process of scheduling has confused a lot of people in the program. And so hopefully the word will get out that the college is very supportive of the lifelong learning program. But the other good thing about all the letters we've been getting is, again, to just hear all the really good, positive things that students in the lifelong learning program have experienced in all the different kinds of classes that they're taking. It's been really, that part of reading the letters, again, has been really fun and really impressive. So that's it.
Thank you. Any other board members with comments? I just want to thank everyone for all their work this semester as it comes to a close. It's sometimes it can feel like, the 4.5 months goes by pretty quick, but a lot of work took us from January to here from our faculty, staff, administrators, students. And so want to just recognize that milestone and on behalf of the board, say thank you. And that'll take us to item B7, reports, starting with the Academic Senate report with President John Stover.
Excuse me. Superintendent Garcia, President Shaban, trustees, members of the SRJC community. It's good to see you all today. I apologize that I was not here last time when Dr. Garcia asked me if I was okay the next day. I said, did I do something to concern you? She said, you weren't at the board meeting. And I was flummoxed because I just totally spaced. And then I was meeting with Victor Tam today, and he said, I'll see you at the board meeting. And I said, oh my God, I'm so glad we met. So here I am. So yeah, it's been a hell of a semester. First of all, I want to highlight that the Senate passed AP 7120A contract faculty hiring procedure on April 15th. This is an administrative procedure that's been in place in one form or another since 1990. And so this is a long overdue update, and we will be putting this through College Council early in the fall. I have forwarded a written report that includes updates that Kaylani and Zara will share with you. I'm just going to highlight really quickly, we had a 20-person contingent attend the Academic Senate for California Community College's spring plenary here in Santa Rosa in early April. It was incredible to have that many people there. And I'm going to continue to, I also fundraised so that there were 12 of us who went to the Non-Credit Institute a week ago. And I'm going to continue this kind of fundraising, and I'm going to continue these efforts because we need to build the bench. We need to continue to advance faculty voices. And it's been really inspiring to have so many people step up and participate and experience the way that we, SRJC, are contributing, not just locally, but at the state level with resolutions that we put forward both in the fall and in the spring. And you can read more about that in the written report. I'm grateful to the district for supplying myself and members of the executive committee with summer hours to support the work that we need to do to include the faculty voice in addressing budget reductions and the reorganization of academic affairs and student services as it relates to academics. This is a 10+1 matter. The Senate needs to weigh in, and the district has been very supportive of our voice. And I'm looking forward to working with all of you as we do that work. We've initiated a standing report structure for the Senate. So you have lots of links in my written report to all the different reports that came through in the last 3 or 4 meetings. You can check those out. We have had a number of work groups, 3 of which I ran. So take a look at that. We're exploring a 16-week calendar. This is a pet project of mine, as most of you know, and we will be making recommendations to the Senate in the fall. Let's see what else. I'm running out of time. Okay, the Non-Credit Institute. The future of our college depends on us building better, more supported, clearer pathways between non-credit and credit. We need to serve our community. We need to do a better job in serving everybody who can benefit the way that I've benefited from going from a working class family to where I am now. Everybody deserves that chance, and we need to do a better job as an institution to do that. So I'm working across many areas to make that happen. We've had elections. Monica Kubo is our new vice president. We will run elections. I'm grateful to Tara Jacobson for her service. She has a lot of work in CAD that she's addressing. I'm almost out of time, so I'm just going to say this. We have a faculty recognition ceremony on Thursday. You're all invited. It's in this space. It's 3 to 5. Next week in the mornings from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m., the Classified Senate, the Academic Senate, and the President's Office are offering coffee and donuts to all employees. So please stop by, say hello. I'm so grateful to be of service. I'm so grateful to be in this role. I love this work. I've learned so much this year, and you've got me for another 2 years. So I'll see you next year.
Thank you. Next up, we have our Classified Senate report with President Linda J.
Good evening, President Shaban, Board of Trustees, Dr. Garcia, and college community. Thank you for the opportunity to speak on behalf of the Classified Senate. Congratulations to Robin Hernandez on Employee of the Month Award for May. From bookstore clerk to scholarship technician, your 20-year journey at SRJC is a testament to your dedication, not just to the institution, but to every student whose future you've helped fund. Connecting over 640 scholarships to students totaling millions in funding is no small feat. She makes an enormous difference, and this recognition is well deserved. As Dr. Stover mentioned, I am excited to announce the Classified Senate will be partnering with the Academic Senate and President's Office for Coffee Talk with Colleagues, is what we're calling it, during finals week in the Bertolini Employee Lounge. We are inviting all employees to come together, foster community, meet new faces, and greet old friends, all while grabbing a cup of coffee and some tasty treats. Please check your email for the invite, and we will send reminders next week. We have sent the call for participatory governance committee assignments for the 26-27 year to classified professionals. The deadline to sign up is tomorrow, May 13th. Next, we will be processing the submissions and contacting employees for their next year assignments. A huge thank you to all of our classified professionals that take the time to participate in our governance process in addition to their classified assignment. The Happy Paws Challenge concluded, and we are happy to report that we encouraged 55 pairs of paws or employees to get out and walk during the challenge. We will be bringing that challenge back to the community in the fall. Our Spring Secret Pal program is concluded. We'd like to send a thank you to the participants that joined the program. I participated, as I always do, and I was thrilled to make a new connection as my pal turned out to be a brand new employee. I am always super happy when a new employee joins the program, as these are the type of connections our Secret Pal program makes, which is important to forge bonds, make new friends here on campus. SRJC can be overwhelming. With such a large district, people can easily feel lost. It's wonderful to have someone to reach out to when you're new. The Classified Senate had our last meeting of the year earlier this month. We will gather again in July for our summer retreat on the Petaluma campus, Tuesday, July 21st. I'd also like to give a thank you out to student trustee Clark for your work this last year. And also welcome Trustee Reed. Thank you for coming by today. It was great to meet you. I want to give a huge shout out to the Classified Senate for all the work they did this past year. From our engagement to participatory governance, to the recognition dinner, to our community events, the Classified Senate works hard to advocate, support, and recognize the amazing classified professionals here at SRJC. I am grateful to each and every one of them. We'll continue to be the voice of our constituents. We'll continue to represent classified professionals to the best of our ability, and we will continue to work hard to bring this district together in community. I look forward to continuing our work next year with you all. And as always, thank you for your time and support. Have a good evening.
Thank you very much. Next up, we have the Student Government Assembly report with SGA President William Garcia. And we'd just like to, on behalf of the board, thank you too for your reports over the last year.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
Good evening, President Shaban, Superintendent Garcia, members of the board, faculty, staff, students, and community members. Tonight, as I stand here for my final report as student body president, I want to begin by saying thank you. Thank you to every person who believed in me, supported me, guided me, challenged me, and walked beside me through this journey. This year was not easy, but it was filled with growth, sacrifice, learning, and hope. Between the volcanoes Toliman, Atitlan, and San Pedro, next to what I still believe is one of the most beautiful lakes in the world, Lake Atitlan, I was born in a Maya Cachiquel community in Guatemala. I was a child who dreamed very big. At 4 years old, I had already learned how to swim, and by 5 years old, I had climbed the Volcan Atitlan. Even then, I believe I already knew something important about myself. I was not afraid to dream, and I was not afraid to climb difficult mountains. As the year passed, I began to witness the many injustices my community faced because of poverty and lack of opportunities. But my hope never disappeared. My mother and my grandmother taught me the value of our living culture, our ancestral language, and the importance of courage, humility, and perseverance. At only 15 years old, I had the opportunity to work alongside Nobel Peace Prize Rigoberta Menchú. That experience opened my eyes even more to service, leadership, and advocacy. My journey from Guatemala to the United States was not easy. I arrived carrying what many would consider an impossible dream: the desire to serve my people, represent my community, and inspire others to believe in themselves. The United States, especially California, welcomed me with the idea that dreams are possible if we fight for them. And here at Santa Rosa, I found a home at Santa Rosa Junior College. As many of you know, I experienced almost every service in this institution offers. I began in non-credit English classes, learning the language one word at a time. Later, I transitioned into credit classes along the way. I encountered walls that seemed determined to stop me, but I learned that love, sacrifice, courage, and determination are stronger than any obstacle. I graduated from HEP program and earned my high school equivalency certificate in only 2 months. For the first time, I became eligible to pursue higher education and general education courses. But another challenge quickly appeared. I realized that it is very difficult to be a full-time student while also working in the field. So I made the decision to enter in the Certified Nursing Assistant program, which opened the door to better opportunities and allowed me to continue my education while serving others. Later, I founded O Connections Club to support students like me, students with dreams, regardless of where they come from, how they think, who they are, or how they express themselves. Together with ESL Moves, we built a stronger and more united community. 1 year ago, I stood before this board not as student body president, but as a candidate. Many people inspired me to run, and thanks to the support of so many people, so many students, friends, mentors, faculty, and staff, we achieved this historic elections results in a race with 5 candidates. This year was filled with sacrifice, but also achievements. Together, we strengthened connections across campuses, promoted inclusion and representation, and worked to ensure that every student felt seen and valued. Now, only days away from leaving this position, I understand that this is not the end of my story. It is simply the closing of one chapter. I went from being a person without a home, without stability, but with impossible dreams, to become student body president of Santa Rosa Junior College. And now it is time to add even bigger dreams to my list: becoming a nurse, becoming a doctor, and one day serving my country through public leadership and politics. Because dreams do come through if we are willing to fight for them. Thank you, Santa Rosa Junior College, for believing in students like me, and thank you to everyone who helped me climb this mountain. It has truly been a privilege and honor of my life to serve as student body president. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, we have the AFA report from AFA President Sarah Wiley. And thank you for your leadership and collaboration over the last semester as well. It's very much appreciated.
Thank you. Good afternoon, President Siobhan, Board of Trustees members, Dr. Garcia, President Garcia, and college community. This will be my last board report as the interim All Faculty Association president for the spring of 2026. I'm both sad and elated at this moment. I want to take some time really quick to thank my vice president, Mark Boyanowski, Ann Donegan, who is our regular AFA president, our beloved chief negotiator, Karen Frindell-Tusher, without whom I simply would not have been able to do this job, and our administrative director, Stephanie Simons, who, again, without whom I could not have done this job, as well as the rest of our AFA cabinet and exec council. This semester has not been an easy one, but I believe that we have, as an organization, we have negotiated in good faith and with our eyes on what is best for our membership, which we believe is also what is best for our college. I want to thank Dr. Garcia for her ongoing communication and thoughtfulness throughout this semester. She's been a true partner in the conversations that we have every month, and my VP and I have looked forward to spending that time with her, sometimes even forgetting how much time we were spending with her. And I want to thank, last but not least, the district's negotiating team. All of you know who you are. All of them handled a difficult semester with grace and a willingness to work out difficult problems with us while maintaining good humor and a dedication to the improvement of our working conditions and the health of our institution. Thank you to everyone who supported me in this role and gave me grace as I figured out how to do it. The AFA team, our negotiating team, believes in the tentative agreement that we're sending out to our members. We hope they will agree that it reflects the spirit of collective bargaining and the power that unions have to give voice and decision-making to their members. Briefly, I would be remiss if I didn't mention that last week was National Teacher Recognition Week. College professors are sometimes overlooked as teachers, but that is what we are, and the commitment to changing lives and the love of sharing discovery and excitement of the exploration of our disciplines is something worth taking the time to honor. Curiosity is a wonderful thing. It gives rise to the investigation and exploration of not only the possibilities of our own lives, but the lives of those around us, the non-human creatures that share our world, and the objects, materials, and created things that surround us. Curiosity is a driver of joy and engagement. Teachers help to foster curiosity. It's our stock in trade. Getting to know teachers better can often begin with the question, what things are you curious about? We do our very best to pass it on to our students, knowing that it, more than money, power, or fame, can bring about joy, engagement, human fellowship, and satisfaction with life in general. Every student that a teacher helps to foster curiosity in helps us fulfill the very ancient social charge that we are given as teachers. Finally, a more mundane concern. Much of our student and faculty's autonomy was put at risk last week through the use of corporatized software solutions that make the business of running a college easier, but make the interwoven tasks of teaching and learning unnecessarily harder. Last week was a warning to us about our reliance on these types of solutions to facilitate and in some cases replicate the complex multidimensional interactions between teachers and students and attempt to manage the bounds of those interactions. These interactions, acts of learning, have long fostered integral trust between students and their teachers. When this trust is broken, when these interactions are so highly curated and managed, the ability to teach and learn authentically from each other is disrupted, and it becomes easier to cynically imagine that such interactions are perhaps unnecessary and burdensome to learning. Learning is a meaningful dynamic activity that is engaged with by the whole person, then risks being replaced by a kind of rote processing of information, which only requires certain responses that are then checked for their consistency with our expectations. The learning itself, a messy, often difficult engagement that can teach us how to manage frustrations, both our own and others, what kind of person we might wish to be, what kind of habits are good for us, could be lost. What happened last week with Instructure and Canvas is a good chance for us to reflect on where we are and what we do as a college. I hope that what occurred will cause us to think deeply about our relationship with technology and where we are willing and not willing to allow technology to be a part of the deeply meaningful and socially impactful relationships we have with our students and thus with our world. Student learning conditions are faculty working conditions. Thank you for your time, and thank you for a wonderful semester.
Thank you. All right, and next to our SEIU report with SEIU President Sandy Segala.
Good afternoon, President Siobhan, Board of Trustees, and Dr. Garcia, students, colleagues, and campus community, and thank you for a few moments of your time today. Employee of the month, also SEIU would like to recognize and congratulate classified professional Robin Hernandez from our scholarship program for Employee of the Month. I also would like to thank Kaya for her service as student trustee. It's been an incredible job that you've done, and it's been great working with you, especially recently. Also want to congratulate a new trustee, Sean Reed, and welcome aboard. And I'm looking forward to working with you as well. And also just want to shout out, it was a pleasure working with AFA Sarah Wiley. New person I've never really worked with. It was wonderful working with Sarah, so I'm going to miss her as well. And also want to welcome and congratulate William from SGA for being this president for the year. SEIU contract update, as I mentioned last month, SEIU and the district had successfully reached a tentative agreement as of April 2nd for the 25-26 contract. The SEIU unit meeting was held on April 15. SEIU would like to thank the managers for allowing the classified to attend the 3 contract ratification meetings. The first one was at 7:30 in the morning out at facilities. I want to thank Hank Langford for allowing us to come out there at 7:30 and have an open discussion on the agreement and have folks vote right there. And the other one was at noontime and again at 3 o'clock that day. The tentative agreement was voted on and passed by our SEIU members on April 17th with a vote of 156 yes and 1 no. On your board agenda today, SEIU is requesting your vote of approval for this tentative contract agreement for SEIU's 2025-2026 contract. And also included on your agenda today are the reopeners for the sunshine for the 25-26 negotiations for the 26-27 contract year. So we don't get a rest. We're going to pick up and keep struggling at it. So hopefully you'll agree to and post those. Classified Executive Council, we currently are in opening for elections right now. Candidate statements were open on April 29th through May 5th, and they were posted on May 6th. The voting will be held on May 20th. That's starting at 7 in the morning through May 22nd at noon. It closes. Positions vacant are 1 negotiator, 1 secretary treasurer, 1 communications officer, and 3 job steward positions. SEIU had a May Day. April 30th, Thursday was May Day Eve, and celebrating SEIU's hard work, we held a gathering at the Sonoma County Veterans Building. We had a magnificent turnout as we prepared for the May Day March that was named the Workers Over Billionaires. The following day, May 1st, the march commenced at the Southwest Community Park on Hearn Avenue, and it ended at Juilliard Park. We had at least 1,000 members or more from the community who walked that walk. And just a little reminder of union history. And you'll see why I have to bring this forward. So there was a Janus versus the AFSCME 2018 Supreme Court case ruling that public sector unions cannot force non-member employees to pay agency fees or fair share fees as a condition of employment. It was stated in this court case that mandatory fees violated the First Amendment by forcing employees to pay for union dues that they may be opposed to. At the same time, in the bargaining structures, the union still remains the exclusive bargaining representative for everyone in the bargaining unit, including the non-paying members. That means the union generally still has a duty of fair representation in grievances, discipline matters, and contract enforcement. Due to the Supreme Court case, our local chapter here at Santa Rosa Junior College, we have 6 job certs with extreme steward case overload. The unfortunate issue is that the majority of these cases are with the non-dues paying classified. These individuals who refuse to pay union dues and expect SEIU to jump to the rescue and bail them out of work issues and deal with their work area complaint. The cases are overwhelming, and at this point, SEIU is required to assist the non-dues paying individuals whenever possible when they ask for job stewarding assistance. And finally, SEIU's comment on the reorg. SEIU recognizes the district's budget deficit and the approval of the board to reorganize. And while we want to ensure that that our comments are respectful, we also note that the district was aware of the potential deficit in advance. Relying on student enrollment numbers to resolve the deficit raises concerns about long-term planning. We urge the district to focus not just on short-term fixes, and I know that's not the case, but on sustainability solutions that support our students, our staff, and our community. SEIU continues to collaborate with AFA leadership in addressing the budget deficit and healthcare increases and any other areas of cost efficiencies to be achieved. And we're looking forward to meeting with the district and with our both unions to have an open discussion on these issues in the near future. We remain committed to advocate for equitable, sustainable solutions that support our members while recognizing the financial realities ahead. And this ends my report for this month, and thank you for your attention.
Thank you. All right, that takes us to the information agenda, item C1, sabbatical leave report for 25-26. We have Mary Catherine Oxford starting. Yes.
It's good to be here. President Shaban, members of the board, Dr. Garcia, and college community. During the 24-25 academic cycle, 16 faculty were granted sabbatical leaves to engage in research, pursue scholarly interests, create work in their discipline, and participate in professional development. These leaves benefit SRJC students through an infusion of new scholarship, revitalized curriculum, strengthened instructional programs, and innovation and faculty growth. On behalf of the Sabbatical Leaves Committee and President Dr. Garcia, we are sharing the approved sabbatical reports and abstracts with you today. Each year, in addition to bringing forward these reports, the Sabbatical Committee chooses one exemplary project to highlight. As always, they're challenged to select just one for you to hear about today. But it is with absolute pleasure that I introduce Holly Tracy's work to you. During her one semester sabbatical leave, Holly conducted independent research on disability cultural centers established on college campuses throughout the United States. She focused on history, funding, staffing, and hours and locations, design, art, and furniture, programs and activities, including intersectional and student and college community impact. She summarized her findings through a best practices proposal report for the next steps to enhance SRJC's own disability cultural centers, both on Santa Rosa and Petaluma campuses. Holly is here to share her experience of taking a sabbatical leave and the work that she has done. We had to convince Holly to accept this award. I'm not sure if you're aware, but the reward of speaking in front of Board of Trustees is not the most enticing awards to present. But I assured her that the Board of Trustees and everyone in here in the audience is incredibly kind, curious, and interested in what she has to say today. Please help me to welcome Holly Tracy to present her outstanding work to you today.
Thank you, Dr. Oxford. President Shaban, members of the board, Dr. Garcia, esteemed colleagues, students, and college community. It is an honor to be here with you today. Thank you. I'd like to express my sincere appreciation to the Sabbatical Leaves Committee for all of the time and the dedication that you put into the committee and for this incredible honor and recognition. Thank you so much. And to the board, thank you for supporting sabbatical leaves. To my fellow sabbatical colleagues, All of your projects are so worthy, and I am privileged to work alongside you and to learn from your expertise. So, a sabbatical about disability cultural centers. Some of you may be wondering, what is a DCC and why is it so important? A DCC is a dedicated, safe, welcoming, and inclusive space, both physical and virtual, for everyone that affirms disability as a valued identity and culture, not just a service or accommodation category. DCCs go beyond compliance through programming, community building, and education. They foster a sense of belonging, being one's authentic self and accepted, which in turn reduces isolation and supports retention, engagement, and overall student success. They provide opportunities for identity development, self-advocacy, and leadership, empowering students to better navigate the academic and professional environments. And they promote campus-wide disability awareness, visibility, inclusion, access, and pride. A little background on why I chose my sabbatical focus. I, along with several wonderful colleagues, established SRJC's Disability Cultural Center in fall of 2024. And as Jace mentioned earlier, we are the first California community college with a Disability Cultural Center, and only the second community college DCC in the nation. And while our DCC is already doing great things, the purpose of my sabbatical was to explore effective models of DCCs and then translate best practices into actionable recommendations to advance the development and impact of our own. My research consisted of a variety of modalities, including an in-depth online review, in-person tours. I was fortunate to travel to educational institutions in California, Washington, Oregon, and Texas, thanks to Faculty Fund for Advanced Studies for funding my travels. And I also conducted remote visits and exchanged electronic communication with other universities. I had the privilege of interviewing students who had been deeply impacted by the DCC at their institution. My areas of focus span from how the DCC was established to its sustainability, physical aspects like art and furniture, location on campus, activities and programming, challenges that they faced, utilization and impact, as well as direct student voice. And as much as I'd love to share information with you on all of these areas, in the interest of time, I will just share with you a handful of direct student quotes from my interviews, as I feel their voices are essential and highlight the importance and impact of DCCs. Having a place that is for you is nice, empowering, and empowering. I belong in this place. Community and culture, not compliance. Meeting a lot of people who have the same stories, it's just really inspiring. It's nice to have a space that is dedicated to the disabled community, where you know that when you walk in there, no matter if your behavior or your appearance is different, that you will be accepted in that space. Personally, the DCC has kept me afloat through burnout multiple times. I remember when I first got here, I had never heard of a DCC, and the existence of one at my school sort of legitimized the disability identity for me and gave me the space I needed to explore it. I can talk about my life experiences and feel like I'm not alone. And so what were the outcomes of my sabbatical? I compiled all of my research, including my qualitative data from interviews. I compared DCCs, found patterns and themes that emerged, common best practices, as well as innovative ideas from one center to the next. And then I developed 20 recommendations to bring back to our DCC and presented these to our Disability Awareness and Culture Committee and our Disability Resources Department. I am happy to share that several of the recommendations have already been implemented or are in the process of implementation, such as joining the DCC Symposium, which consists of more than 20 DCC directors and program coordinators throughout the nation, working with the foundation to create an endowment, developing a sensory space on the Santa Rosa and the Petaluma campus. It's important to note that's the #1 request by students. Providing opportunities for students to develop leadership and advocacy skills, and collaborating with other cultural centers on campus for intersectional programming. SRJC Disability Resources Department serves over 3,200 students, and that number continues to grow. Disabled students and employees represent every demographic group on campus, and they seek and deserve belonging, community, full access, and inclusion. In our DCC's first year, we engaged with over 1,000 attendees, and this academic year so far, over 1,600 students, employees, and community members. It is clear our DC is essential to this college. My research underscores the critical role DCCs play in fostering students' sense of belonging, identity development, and community connection, key factors linked to retention and academic success. My findings confirm the value in the district investing time and resources into enhancing our DCC, as these centers deeply impact students and the college community in a positive and meaningful way. By implementing best practices identified through this sabbatical, such as having district-wide commitment and support, SRJC can further enhance the impact of its DCC by cultivating belonging, encouraging identity exploration, and developing self-advocacy and leadership skills. This will enrich the college by advancing disability awareness, accessibility, and a more inclusive institutional culture. Like other disproportionately impacted populations, those who identify as disabled experience stigma and institutional barriers, which is why it is critical we, as a district, create and nurture intentional spaces that explicitly invite and celebrate the disabled community. And so I will end my time here with you this afternoon by extending an invitation. If you haven't already had the opportunity, I encourage you to come visit the Santa Rosa DCC on the 3rd floor of Bertolini Landing area. Perhaps design your own puzzle piece to add to our ever-growing community art wall that represents the intersecting identities of us all, and that we all express ourselves in different ways. Or come practice American Sign Language skills at one of our ASL social hours. Witness students mingling, sharing stories, utilizing sensory tools, playing accessible games, expressing disability pride, finding their people, and truly belonging on campus. And if you are moved to do so, I urge you to donate to the DCC through the foundation. Thank you so much for your time and for your support.
Well, thank you very much. Any board members with questions or comments on that? Thank you so much, and it's great to see some actionable steps have already been implemented from your research. So thank you for that contribution to the college. Next up, we are going to item C2, our annual strategic plan update with Dr. Smotherman.
All right. Good evening, Board President Shaban, Dr. Garcia, Board of Trustees, and community. I'm here to provide an update regarding the implementation of our 2025-2030 strategic plan. Going through this board meeting today, I would be remiss if I don't mention that when I hear all of the impacts that's going on, it connects specifically to the strategic plan in terms of supporting our academic quality and our students. And the strategic plan as a whole is our guiding light in terms of making sure that we have fundamental decisions in terms of how do we support our students moving forward. That's something that the plan was built on and why it was supported. So we do have an implementation framework. In the interest of time, I'm not going to go over all the details of things, but the goal of this framework is to help ensure that we are implementing the plan to ensure the successful implementation of our action steps. The biggest thing that I want to show here is throughout the slides, you'll see at the very top what the initiative is, what the goal is. But more importantly, the strategic plan is built around ensuring student success the growth of our student success, as well as the growth and maintaining of our enrollment. That is our success metrics, as well as our operational metrics. The updates are going to be on the slides that are colored here in white. And what I'm going to provide is information on just a few highlights. So for this one related to academic quality, it's the first row that I would like to point to, specifically related to the growth in terms of our FTES. We have received a growth of our FTS of about 3%, a little bit lower than the 5% that we've been projecting. And we continue to work towards increasing our FTS to meet our goal of 17,500. Academic Affairs has already implemented a productivity-based FTF allocation model. And in addition to that, the Strategic Enrollment Management Plan Group is going to be updating the plan to make sure that we are maintaining a consistent theme of increasing our enrollment. For this particular metric and action step, the thing I want to make sure is that we are continuing to work with the aspect of universal design, coming into compliance with Title II, with the American with Disabilities Act, and making sure that the principles of universal design, where they're not solely related to accessibility, that all the departments are really paying attention to how we are supporting all of our students in our communication moving forward to make sure that we have accessible content for all students. And then related to ensuring that students are able to identify their paths, we do have all program maps for all of our academic programs. That's part of the curriculum process. But part of the thing that we're really trying to accomplish in the next steps is that we are publishing our programs to make sure students coming into SRJC are keenly aware of how they can complete their programs in a reasonable time. We are additionally looking at providing recommendations on how to assess our institutional learning outcomes so we can continue work on improvements related to SRJC to grow our student success and update our ability to achieve our enrollment goals. The next area is student success and support. What I want to highlight here is that related to the student community orientations and a lot of additional action steps related to student support for mentorships and learning groups. We anticipate those to begin in fall 2027. But additionally, starting the information sessions related to our employees to help support these efforts, we anticipate that to beginning in fall 2026. Let's continue just that. One of the key highlights here that I want to point to is the second row. When we're looking at developing community partnerships to support basic needs, we are currently working on a MOU with 4Cs to support childcare for SRJC students. Additionally, we are looking into working with SSU related to supporting housing demand for students to make sure that we provide more basic needs related to housing. In both areas, we look to continue work with the president's office. Dr. Garcia has been having pop-ups for the president at every single location, where she's been gathering a lot of feedback from students in terms of what their needs are and how they can support, and how we can support students moving forward. Going into responsive to our community, the one that I want to highlight here is specifically row 1. That is the environmental scan that we are actively working on, and we plan to have published in fall 2026. Thanks to the work of the Planning and Budget Council and others, we have defined areas that should be included inside of the environmental scan and making sure that we are going to provide a proper documentation on recommendations on how to implement the environmental scan to support decision-making and conversations throughout the district. Oh, and one thing I had to go back to on this one is also for the second line, it was the CCAP programs. I am pleased to say that we have a CCAP agreement, and we engage in CCAP agreements with every single school district in Sonoma County. So that's been a much, I would say long improvement, but definitely a lot of hard work from academic affairs and student services to get to those agreements. The part that I wanted to identify here was specifically the aspect of developing a multilingual communication. We are working inside of the Institutional Effectiveness Research and Planning Office to make sure that all surveys coming from SRJC include a Spanish translation to provide more accessibility when we're looking at our surveys and to gather data to support our students moving forward and identify more ways to communicate those opportunities effectively. When we're looking at our employee base, it is supporting our EEO plan and making sure that the strategies of our EEO plan and the data that's gathered to it is really helping to ensure that we have a proper employee base to support our retention and academic program completion. One of the key points for campus climate and culture, the first row I want to point you out to, is we've been working on updating our vendor code of conduct. Additionally, the IDA task force, which was commissioned by the College Council, as they've been doing their work, they've identified a need for us to have a crisis response protocol to address in-the-moment incidents. And they're going to continue that work in the next academic year. And this is the last portion of campus climate and culture, which is actually one of the biggest ones that we're looking at as well. So it's support of our zero cost textbook initiatives. Additionally, the STARS gold rating that we earned at SRJC and communicating that out with students and providing them opportunities to engage to see how they can incorporate sustainability into their careers. And the bottom portion here, in terms of maintaining our 17.5 or getting to our 17.5, there are a lot of efforts that are being done related to a budget allocation work group model, updating our planning processes to move from what has been traditionally called PRPP to annual planning to provide more consistent planning processes, updating the strategic enrollment management plan, and then continuing to work with our FTS growth through the SIMP, strategic enrollment management plan. Additionally, what you cannot see at the bottom is that all of these aspects, including the guidance of our strategic plan, will be taken into consideration for the reorganization and looking at for next year to finalize the recommendation to the board related to reorganization. That said, the last thing I want to point out here, this is just a listing of the number of students by population that we're looking at for this past academic year to show that about 9,000 new students came to SRJC. 6,000 of those students were part-time. 4,000 of those students were returning students. So they had a break in their education, then came back. We do serve a very vast array of students, and we're continuing to make sure that the strategic plan supports our student growth in those areas as well. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Do I have questions or comments from the board? Trustee Fishman.
You know, I love the way you laid it out. It's very clear, you know, what you're trying to do, what the metric is, what the update is, who's responsible to do it. I love that part. What I don't always understand is when you come to the student success metrics, how do you decide what that is? Like on, you know, the environmental scan informs 100% of new and revised programs, but the degrees are, you know, you want to increase by 4%. How do you come up with the 4%? And like on guided pathways, you know, how do we come up with the, how we determine what success is? Seems like we come up with a lot of percentages, and maybe this is a longer conversation that we need to have. I feel like I cheated a little bit by listening on Monday because I learned a lot that day. But how do you come up with what your success numbers are?
That's a very good question. So our indicators of effective outcomes, which talks about persistence, course completion, course success, degree completion, that's the baseline of what we're looking at related to student success. So for example, when we're talking about increasing degree and certificates by 4%, we know our baseline off of a 3-year average based off those indicators of effective outcomes. Our general growth that we've been looking forward towards based off of the long-range plan related to our student success metrics has always been about 3 to 4%. Looking at the growth of our enrollment as well, where that could potentially be. So it's been always copped in the idea of ensuring that, one, we are meeting our targets in terms of the student center funding formula, as well as where our growth of students are looking at as a whole, and always the aspect of process improvement of that growth. If we're looking at success, we have our ACC-JC standards, which says that 75, I shouldn't say 75%. Course completion is at 75% overall. So no matter how many times students are taking courses, overall, you'll see a 75% success rate. So we're looking at growth to make sure that in areas that don't have that, so for example, part-time students, they're able to grow to meet that standard.
So the standard's not always our standard. Sometimes it's an outside standard, like that we live up to.
It is our standard. We set the ACC-JC standards for SRJC.
Okay, so we set them. So, okay. I find it head spinning a little bit. I don't, you know, true confessions. I'm just wondering why the student metric for guided pathways is only 25%.
See here, which one are you talking about
The,
specifically?
the one of the first ones, that's the second one, the academic quality.
Gotcha.
I mean, I understand everything else. I just don't understand how we came up with.
So what I would point to is our data hub that we have on the institutional effectiveness website, research.santarosa.edu. On the data hub, we have our indicators of effective outcomes. You'll see our completion percentage, and that's the 3-year average, which is where these are based off of. Our 3-year average is below the 20%. And so we're looking to increase that. That is why we have that number.
What? Okay.
So it's
So
based
if
off.
you go with the one above it, the one that says the baseline's 21% and the target is 25. So
Yeah.
explain the difference between those two things for me.
So the
The
baseline.
goal one and then goal one continued.
Goal one. And then,
Well, this is goal one and it says the baseline
oops, sorry.
and that is goal one in addition. I get confused on why the baselines and the targets are different in those two things. I mean, we're talking about guided pathways, right? And the operational metric.
Yes, we are talking about implementing guided pathways. That's one
Okay,
of these
I
strategies.
guess that's the one I want to talk about.
Yeah. So that's one of the strategies. And for the student success metric. So what we're saying here is 25% of new SRJC students beginning in 2025, 2026. So based off of the last slide that I provided you, for this one, we're looking at roughly 9,000 students that were new to SRJC in 2025, 2026. And we're saying that 25% of those students moving into the year will have increased persistence.
Okay.
And that number is based off of our 3-year averages. And that's what's on the indicators of effective outcomes dashboard, where we've been tracking this for the last several years to see where exactly we've been at and where's the opportunity for growth.
For growth. Okay. All right. We may have to have coffee.
I look forward to it.
I mean, it's a lot of stuff in this, and I
It
do
is.
appreciate the way it's laid out. I really do. I just don't always understand exactly where some of those targets and the baselines come from.
No, I appreciate the question. Definitely.
All right.
Really thorough. I am sure a lot of different people worked on it, and I like all the different groups and targets and issues that we hear about, like serving student parents and serving different students. But so I take it this is a 5-year plan. So I just take it that we're going to get something like I assume in at least a year, if not sooner, about.
Well, I guess you could, this is part of the annual update, so.
Right.
Yes, this will be
Okay,
happening
every
to this will be given to the board every single year.
Through 2030.
Yes.
Right. Okay. That's what I thought, but I thought it just.
Any other board members with questions? Anyone with public comment on this item? Thank you very much for the presentation. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
All right. Next, we're going to item C3, our strategic enrollment management plan update with Vice Presidents Senecal and Holcomb.
All right, thank you, Trustee Siobhan. Good evening, members of the board. Dr. Garcia, college community. I'm happy to be up here with my colleague, Dr. VP Molly Senecal, and we're happy to give you an update about our work that we're doing around strategic enrollment management. We recognize that the board received the information in advance and that you're familiar with the slide deck. So rather than going through all of the slides, we're going to pick a few areas and highlight a few things. And then we're happy to take any questions you might have. So we'll start with some background. We've gone over this before, but just as a refresher. So prior to the pandemic, the district was generating approximately 17,500 FTEs. That's full-time equivalent students, 17,500 prior to the pandemic. Throughout the course of the pandemic, we dipped down to approximately 12,500 FTEs. So we lost approximately 5,000 full-time equivalent students during that time. Fortunately, in subsequent years, we were able to rebound in terms of our enrollment recovery. And so approximately 600 FTS gain in 22-23, another 600 in 23-24, and then in 24-25 we saw a growth of over 1,000 FTS. And so we were on a good trajectory. During that time, we implemented the strategic enrollment management plan, 7 strategies that we've conveyed to the board. But what we're here to give an update about is we do have to share that in around January of this year, we noticed that for fall 2026 enrollment, it's the first time that we didn't achieve what was called for in the strategic enrollment management plan of a 5 or 6% gain. We saw our enrollment did increase during that time, but it was around 2.8%. It was 2.8%. And so that was the first time coming out of the pandemic that we didn't see that enrollment growth between 5 and 6%. So we saw an initial possible flattening of our enrollment growth. And so based on that, we'll see a little bit about that. So for example, dual enrollment, well, here it is. Dual enrollment, which had seen growth of 18 or 15% in previous years, 2.23. Work experience previous year, 10%, 3.8. And so we are seeing a little flattening of our enrollment growth. Now this year, the spring semester enrollment looks a little stronger, and we're projected to be at 15,200 FTS at the end of this year. So we are continuing to see progress. But what we're doing around our strategic enrollment management plan is we're assessing what's worked, what's stalled, and what's next. And we've identified a few examples of that. And what's next for the work of the strategic enrollment management plan implementation work group is to update our strategic enrollment management plan to go from the 7 broad strategies to fewer, possibly more targeted strategies. We want to have a focus on not just recruiting new students, but also focus on retaining the students that we have, a focus on retention. That's another way to build enrollment. We see a need to align to the student-centered funding formula based on a lot of different metrics, which is how we're funded for enrollment. And then an example, and then to possibly incorporate new innovations. For example, an 8-week course pathways to completion. We've seen other colleges such as Long Beach City College in Southern California have entire pathways that are built around shorter sequence courses. And so on that note, we are aware of the tapering of their enrollment growth, but we're taking action to adjust to that, and so that we can continue to move forward with providing as much enrollment opportunity for our community as possible. And on that note, I will hand it over to VP Cynical.
Thank you so much, VP Holcomb. I appreciate that. And so now that we've had a chance to talk about some data points and some projections, what I'd like to talk about is the discussion that we have had this past year, specifically some of the conversations with the management team, and also that you know what steps are happening. So you can see we have the 3-part series, but this recently concluded with last week, where we had an enrollment management academy as a management team with Dr. Color's growth practices and strategies as we're engaging in the reorganization and realignment work. These next 3 slides are going to have some themes that have come up from our discussions of the management team. Similarly, I'm not going to go through every single one of them and have a chance to review them, and we're happy to share anything that you would like to know more about these. But one of the things is this first bullet point ties in with our conversations about the reorganization and realignment. So how do we talk about existing resources and how do we align those to best support student needs? How do we support students entering and staying here and completing their goals? So that's a major conversation of things that we have had. With this part, retention is coming up over and over again because enrollment strategies are only going to be effective if we can help our students stay. So we can get them here, but we want to help make sure that they have the courses that they need. And we can do that by making sure our faculty pools offer the courses that we need. That specific goal is also linked in our strategic plan, which you just heard Dr. Smotherman talk about before this, also listed in our Equal Employment Opportunity Plan. So what I hope you see from this is an intentional alignment of our plan. So we're not working in silos, we're ensuring that this work that we're doing is working together. So this is my favorite slide because it talks about some of my favorite things here. So data. So we've been talking a lot about what kind of data do we need. So we have excellent resources from IRP, but our faculty, staff, and administrators are continuing to talk about what kind of data do we need to have access to so we can plan our courses, we can provide services and support our students. The second bullet, I know that many of our trustees here are very interested in this in terms of marketing and communication and outreach. And this has been a conversation we have been engaged in very intentionally, especially over the past year, with the roundtables and connecting with our community members and talking about how do we show up in spaces, how do we share information with our community. And one example of this is just last week, we were at the Sonoma Valley Tuesday night market, and so Dr. Garcia and other members of the JC were able to talk with folks in Sonoma Valley about lifelong learning, about dual enrollment, other programs. And so we're talking about how do we show up in these spaces intentionally. And then the third one, I would be remiss if we didn't talk about SRJC Foundation's role in providing support for our students, especially students who have, financial need, removing barriers, and we're incredibly grateful for all of the work and support from our foundation office. You might remember the slide from last time when VP Holcomb and I shared this. This is a slide that shows the alignment of our strategic plan with the strategic enrollment management plan. And what I hope you see from this is all of the incredible work that has happened over this past year to address barriers related to transportation, to childcare. We have the MOU related to 4Cs on the board agenda tonight. So we will have childcare back at Roseland starting in the fall, and other ways for students to connect and find community. So that's what's happening next. So next, over the summer, we will work on updating the strategic enrollment management plan because it's not a one and done. We're continuing to look at data and look at our priorities. Early fall, we will bring a draft and give feedback, and then we plan to bring a final draft for October, November. Please keep in mind this is important and we time this intentionally because as we engage in the realignment and reorganization efforts, we want to make sure that we have the most recent updated strategies and data to inform that. And so with that, I just want to close with, strategic enrollment management plan is not just about numbers. The numbers are important, but it's about creating pathways for students to enter, to stay, and succeed. And I appreciate the partnership because this is not just the Vice President of Academic Affairs or just the Vice President of Student Services, even though we are up here and we are bringing this message. This is the work of every single one of us here. And so we appreciate that. So that concludes our presentation and we will open up for any questions or comments.
Thank you. Any members of the board with questions or comments on this item? Good, because I have quite a few. First, I want to recognize the work that's gone in to the strategic enrollment management plan, and I appreciate the review, self-reflection, and iterative nature of it, right? We have to learn what's working, learn what's not, and continue improving. As I look at, pathways and, removing barriers, we want to be very intentional, right, about what we're doing. And one of the lenses that I want to interject into this is geographical representation as well. So we are an HSI, and it doesn't do the community in Boys Hot Springs or Agua Caliente in my district much good if we're only serving folks in Santa Rosa, right? And so I look at the enrollment in East County, and it's not acceptable to me. It is absolutely not acceptable to me. And so I want, as we update the plan and we look at where we're going, being intentional about how we are serving our entire community, all of Sonoma County. And so as I look at it, there's a number of ways in which we can do that. And I think you've identified some there, online courses. How are we doing that? Transportation, how are we removing barriers for people to get physically to our campuses? How are we physically present in communities across the county, including communities that don't have a physical campus? And outreach, how are we being very intentional about our outreach on enrollment and education of those communities? And so, I appreciate that we've started and had a presence at the Sonoma Valley Farmers Market. I think that's good. That's one, piece of the puzzle, but much broader. And so, when we look at updating this, I really, really, really want the college to be intentional about how we are doing that, especially for communities that do not have a campus, because there are people who are facing intergenerational poverty, who are facing language barrier access issues, who can really use the services that our college provides. And so this is really a top priority for me. And I just want to be very clear on that.
Understood.
And then I have a couple specific questions on some, I guess, modalities of service or different areas. One, we have, lifelong learning has been something that's been talked about several times today. I think that's something that I'd be interested. I don't know if you have any thoughts of, how are we promoting that and doing that outreach, and is that part of it? I've received a couple comments recently from folks saying, that in addition to people that have been using lifelong learning and saying, this is great, please don't take it away. I've had other people say, the SRJC used to have such great lifelong learning classes. Why aren't you offering them? And of course, we are offering around 100 sections, I believe, for the upcoming semester. So I think, I'm interested in how we are connecting people to that. And then, I also believe there's a course offerings, reflection, right, based on enrollment and what is drawing people in. So I'll stop there. Maybe, I don't know if you have a response to that. And then I have one or two other pieces.
Sure, absolutely. So one piece that's really critical in serving the lifelong learning student population is when we have registration support available for that student population, it's much more seamless. They can register for the classes and get into the classes and start learning. When we don't have that, we find that we field calls and we become aware that there are some bottlenecks. And so the extent to which we will leverage that, that'll be helpful, I think.
Thank you. And then looking at the other end of the spectrum on our CCAP agreements, I think there's been great progress there, and we should be proud of, catching up in a very short period of a couple years, where we were, decades behind other districts in terms of their partnerships with K through 12 districts. Do we have a vision now for expanding course offerings and then also grade levels, right? The California Community College Chancellor articulated a grand vision of, every 8th grader enrolling in a community college course. Unfortunately, the state system has not really done a damn thing to help us do that. But what is that part of the vision too, of expanding beyond, upper division or upperclassmen, to a more comprehensive experience there? I'm just interested in where you see that going at this point.
I'll start, and then maybe VP Cynical has other thoughts. What we're focused on right now is being able to build an infrastructure to support possible expansion, so that we have the right administrative support, so that we're in the right partnerships with SCO, and so building that infrastructure to support the volume to scale out. And then with that infrastructure, we would be able to be strategic and make sure that we're evenly distributed across different, throughout Sonoma County school districts and hitting all the different grade levels.
Thank you. I mean, that's one of the, when I look at success metrics too, I'm pleased, Dr. Senecal, follow up as soon as I'm done, but just really interested in seeing some of those metrics and what sections are we, as one school has a pathway, are we offering that? Here we have sort of a ready-made pathway. Are you interested in a second pathway at your campus? That sort of thing. And Dr. Senecal.
No, I just wanted to add that all of the CCAP pathways are a pathway. So they all have a specific pathway, and the success rate, the retention and success rate is incredibly high for those. And so I don't have the data right in front of me, but it is significantly high. And so we could probably have IRP share some of that information. So again, yes, we're building up the infrastructure for CCAP, and we're being very successful. Our partnership with SCO has really helped us with that. So internally, we're figuring out through the reorganization, realignment, how can we continue to support that, including having the FT app specific for this question. I also want to add, we are also exploring some ideas for like an early middle college. So not thinking just about high school. So how can we actually talk to students before that? And so we have some pilot projects that are in elementary school and thinking about the ASL program and how can we get into middle school and create a pathway for ASL. And so again, if students start taking our classes while they are in elementary and middle school, they're much more likely to continue to stay here. So Rome, I know personally Rome is leaving, but has started to lay the groundwork for those conversations. So what does it look like to look at these courses differently than what we have been doing? So that's some of the work that's underway.
Great, thank you. And then the last question is on California Virtual College. Is that in 2026, 27? Is that on the horizon? Do we see any potential enrollment growth from that? Are we further away?
Yes, absolutely. So we became a home college a few semesters ago, and we're working toward becoming a teaching college. It's projected that the banner implementation has had an impact on the timeline, but we're trying to become a teaching college by spring 2026, spring 27, yeah.
Perfect. Thank you for that. I think that's an untapped and pipeline as well. Just want to end by saying, we've done a tremendous amount of work, so don't take my points as criticisms of. I mean, we've done a lot, but I just, that word intentionality is important, and I want to make sure that we're looking at it with multiple equity lenses as well. And so that's important. And as we talk about the state of our budget and the services we're able to offer, obviously recruitment and retention, success of our students is so important to that. So appreciate all the work. It's coming from a place of appreciation, and I just want that to be clear that it's not to be critical. It's just to as we set our North Stars, I want to be clear on what mine are. Thank you. Any members of the public wishing to speak on this item? Seeing none, we will move on to item C4.
Good evening. As is customary, when we get to the point of the board policy and administrative procedures overview, we have a presentation sorry, who's that? I'm not sure which one's moving. There we go. The board policies that are here for first reading overview. You've had the material, so I'm not going to read necessarily through each one, but as you can see, we are making quite a bit of progress through board policies. And so there are several new ones to note that are legally required. There are a few where we are updating and replacing old policies or retiring old ones. And So this essentially is the list for the processes. They come here once we've gone through College Council. And so that is one of the spaces where we have the senates, the collective bargaining units, administration, student representation. We come together to discuss these. So we've had a lot of progress and have accomplished quite a bit. And it still feels like we have barely made a dent in the hundreds of policies and procedures that we need to do. So I'm happy to take any questions that trustees might have on any of these as part of the first reading.
Thank you for that overview. Are there any board members with questions or comments, or members of the public wishing to speak on this item? Seeing none, we will move on to item C5, our bond measure feasibility polling results, with VP Jolly kicking us off.
All right. We're trying to get the heat on. It's a little cold. Okay, good afternoon, President Shaban, members of the board, Dr. Garcia, college community. So we're happy to be here today to present the results and analysis from our latest general obligation bond feasibility polling. Some background, in May of 2025, at the board study session, there was discussion whether the district should conduct polling to better understand if the community would support a future bond measure focused on facility, infrastructure needs, technology, as well as capital improvements across the district. So following that discussion, the board approved moving forward with retaining the consultant to conduct the initial feasibility poll. That first poll was conducted in August of 2025. Results were presented to the board in October of 25. And at that time, we were directed to continue community outreach efforts and return with additional polling and analysis in spring of 26 to further evaluate the viability of a potential measure. The presentation tonight summarizes the findings from the second phase of polling and outreach. The survey analysis includes the voter perceptions of the district, community priorities, testing of potential ballot language in areas of focus, as well as tax tolerance. So joining me again is Lucia from FM3, and we have Lauren from Team Civics. We also have Barry from Team Civics and Curtis from FM3 joining us via Zoom. So Lucia will walk us through the polling results and analysis to provide information. This will support your upcoming discussion at the special meeting on May 21st around whether we would like to move forward with placing a bond measure on the November 2026 ballot.
Good evening. Thank you so much for having me here. It's a pleasure to walk through the findings of our survey that we just completed in early April. So before I dive into the more interesting part, I just want to touch on our survey methodology. This was a random sample of 655 voters likely to cast a ballot in November 2026 within the district. So the random sample has a margin of error of 4.0 at the 95% confidence level. Basically means that when we're looking at the numbers, more or less, we want to add plus or minus 4% as we think through them. The outreach was done via phone calls to landlines and cell phones, email invitations, and text invitations to take the survey online. And it was conducted in English and in Spanish. In some places in the data, you'll see comparisons to prior polling dating back to 2014. I actually don't think we have any of the 2002 data in this deck, although our team did do that polling a long time ago. So diving into the findings. So one of the questions we asked really early in the survey was about how people view the college. We asked them if they have a favorable or unfavorable opinion. And SRJC is viewed very, very favorably among the electorate. 84% had an overall favorable opinion. 53% had a very favorable opinion. This is consistent with what we saw in our polling in the late summer when it was 83% favorable. We also asked a question about whether folks felt like the college had a great need, some need, a little need, or no real need for additional funding. So again, perception of need is one of the factors that affects perception of a potential ballot measure. And we did see that overall, a majority said there is at least some need relative to when we surveyed in the late summer of 2025. We did see a slight bump in the perception, particularly of that great need. So slight increase in awareness, but it is kind of just within that margin of error overall. It is lower than what we saw in 2014, I believe the last time the district was considering a bond. So getting into the proposed measure, so you'll see at the top there the ballot language we tested. What we do, and in the bottom half is the one we tested in 2025. What we do in the survey is we try to test as realistic ballot language, mimicking kind of the 75-word language that appears on the ballot. We really want to get a realistic sense of what voters think when they see this one piece of information that we know that everyone will have. There were some edits made to the language based on what we learned in the 2025 survey. So that's why it looks different, because we integrated some of the findings of kind of the things that the electorate was telling us were most important to them. And we did see a shift in willingness to support a proposed measure. When we tested the potential measure in 2025, we saw that 56% were willing to support a potential measure, and 38% told us they were likely no. In this latest survey, we see 60% saying they are likely to vote yes, with 29% opposed. And what was encouraging was also seeing that definite yes jump from 27% to 34%. So in 2025, kind of the definite yes and definite no were very similar, but we're seeing the intensity of support improve. So that was an encouraging finding as well. Keeping in mind that with a 55% threshold for passage, we're kind of just outside that margin of error, right, of success. And before I move into some more details, we did want to include a snapshot of some of the key demographic groups in the electorate. Again, these were all sampled proportionately to their kind of to how much of the sample or how much of the universe they make of voters. And we do see women a little bit more likely to vote yes than men, but majority support cutting across both those groups. By age, we do see some variation, but generally majority support among most age group or all age groups, particularly intense support there among those voters in their 30s in particular. Interestingly, those who have taken a class at SRJC were not more supportive. I wouldn't say they were statistically, much less supportive in terms of it was 60% to 63%, but not a huge difference there. But in terms of the perception of need for funding, 81% of those who told us there was at least some need for funding said they would be likely to vote yes. And we almost saw kind of the mirror image of that among those who don't think there's a need for funding. So again, as I was noting earlier, kind of having that awareness can be really important for folks in feeling like this is something that they're willing to support. And we also did break out the data by trustee area. I will note that when we split the sample 7 ways, we have roughly a 10-point margin of error on these. So essentially, what we see here is it looks like majority support is cutting across the district. And overall, most of these are kind of within the margin of error of each other. But it does appear to be, with all those caveats, there does appear to be some variation across the district in the electorate's willingness to vote yes. So getting into some of the elements of the potential measure and potential spending priorities of a potential bond measure. And we asked voters to tell us whether each of these was extremely important, very important, somewhat important, or not too important. And they're ranked here by the percentage you said, and majorities told us that all of them were extremely very important, but we did see some differentiation. We did see some of the accountability items, requiring annual financial audits and the local control of funds, more than 3/4 felt like those were very important. So there's a lot of intensity there. We also saw a lot of intensity around improving facilities to train students for careers in nursing, firefighting, and first responders, attracting and retaining high quality faculty, repairing leaky roofs, and providing local funding for affordable higher education. We had roughly 2 in 5 or more telling us these were extremely important. And again, roughly 3/4 saying all of these were extremely or very important. We also saw that 72% said it was extremely or very important to not increase taxes, which is something that would be able to kind of built into the proposed bond measure to not increase current tax rates. And we did see a majority telling us that was extremely important. So that was an aspect of the measure that really resonated with voters. We then also saw kind of majority importance assigned to a range of other items, improving facilities for careers in building trades, citizen oversight, preparing students for university, facilities for careers in agriculture, and for careers in auto mechanics. All of these, a majority, were also very important. So over the course of the survey, we asked folks what they thought about this measure or how they think they would vote at 3 points. We asked them very early in the survey. We then provided the educational statements and re-asked them up in the conversation around this. And what we saw was that we started at 60%. After positive educational statements, we move up to 65% with 41% definite yes. But after folks hear those critical statements, they go back down to their baseline of that 60%. So, the information, people are kind of really responding and moving as they hear information. So the next few slides look at some of the statements that were shared. We asked voters to tell us how convincing each of these were as a reason to potentially vote yes on a measure. And they're ranked by the percentage who said each of these was very convincing. I will say that you have a very strong set of statements here. Typically, ones that we think are overall compelling are roughly 40% of voters saying very convincing, and we have several that kind of exceed that threshold. So a lot of kind of responsiveness and openness to these statements among this electorate. Particularly arguments centered on affordability and the importance that community colleges play in ensuring folks can get an affordable higher education. Local training for local jobs, training local emergency responders, firefighters, protecting local funding as it's under attack from state and federal budget cuts, and the need to upgrade outdated infrastructure. All of these were really resonant. As were other statements around job training, the fact that community colleges often provide education in AI-proof jobs, as well as, again, that no tax increase message that really resonated. There were some other arguments, again, that I think were overall compelling about the context of SRJC and the county's economy, the return on investment, the general fund limitations on spending in the classrooms, as well as, overall funding for classrooms and ensuring that existing funding can go to classroom learning instead of repairs. All of these were, not overall, as you'll see actually in a moment here, the majority said those were somewhat convincing, but there were some that were just more intense on affordability, local training, and again, just some of those key sectors in particular kind of resonated with the electorate. So just to wrap up, I won't walk through all these bullets and kind of reiterate everything I just said, but I think, our assessment is that the measure appears well positioned for potential November 2026 ballot if the district decided to proceed. It is just outside that 4% margin of error, 55%. And we are in obviously turbulent times where things are changing a lot, but I think, we see strong responsiveness to some of those key arguments and strong support for some of those key investments. And so we think kind of with continued education and communication with the community on the importance of this measure, it should be well positioned for November. So I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you. Board members with questions and comments? Yeah, we'll start with Trustee Bricker.
Thank you. I've just got a question on some of the numbers. When you say here 3 and 5 are willing to support the proposed bond measure, in looking back, I think it's slide 8, it's earlier in the presentation, I feel like the undecided leaning yes voters are doing a lot of work there, considering how close this is. And I'm wondering if you have any sense from previous polling and results on votes like this, how reliable can we consider those undecided leaning yes voters?
Yeah, I mean, usually we group them with the yes because they do end up breaking yes, but you're right that they are the most fluid and they're the most likely to respond to those negative arguments. So they're often, when we see that drop after the negative arguments, they tend to be the ones that drop off. So I think it, yeah, I think it just underscores the need to really make sure that we're reaching out to folks if the district decides to proceed with this.
Thank you.
Other board members with questions or comments on this? Yeah, Trustee Bailey.
Yeah, I want to call your attention to the majority of voters by district. Again, I know that the same statements were submitted to the constituencies, but again, just looking at that threshold of 55% being a threshold, what do you contribute as I'm looking at the 51%, the 51% in that area 3? But again, the same question was posed to all 3. Is there anything that you possibly contribute to the difference in the response in the area?
Yeah. Again, not speaking to that area specifically, I think we did generally see some trends that we saw kind of on the previous slide of the demographics. So sometimes it can be the underlying demographics, just women more likely to vote. Sometimes partisan affiliation can also play. So if an area is more kind of mixed in different partisan affiliations, that can kind of influence it. But ultimately, it comes down to, it can be a lot of factors. So I don't know how much reach the college has in that community, for example, if that's also an element as well.
Any other board members with questions on this? I have one or two. So as you tested negatives, and then I guess as you look at the just overall results, how do you project that there's any impact that other, throughout the county, school bond, parcel taxes, sales taxes, might have? What have you seen that might inform that?
Yeah, I think in those critical arguments, we tried to capture that, right? We spoke about the rising cost of living, but as well as the fact that there will be multiple measures on the ballot in November, multiple local measures. And as you can see, it did bump down support a little bit, but it didn't kind of cause it to really fall out.
Thank you. And so just to be clear, your conclusion is if there's a reasonable public education, reasonable outreach effort, perhaps that, things not necessarily associated with the college itself, but if there's a reasonable effort, you believe based on this polling results that this has a solid chance of being approved based on these results, given your experience, statewide doing similar polls and seeing the results over the last, number of decades.
Yeah, of course. We are comfortable. Like, as I mentioned, we believe it's well positioned for November. I think obviously if some big event were to happen, when COVID happened, a lot of ballot measures that previously had polled well didn't pass. And so I always have to add that caveat now in this world we live in. But I think the overall context remaining pretty stable. I think, again, one of the things that I was really encouraged hereby was the intensity on the yes side relative to the no side, something that late last year was a little bit more tentative. So I do feel positive about it. I do think that outreach is essential when we are so close to that 55% margin or threshold for passage.
Trustee Fishman, please. No, go ahead.
I was just, I look at the numbers at the percentages for the message in favor of the measure. And only one of them is 55%. And how do you reflect on that? And how does that affect your assessment, particularly when some of them, when we ask about infrastructure, it's 46% and a bond, yeah.
Yeah.
These numbers, none of them hit 55 except one.
So I actually very rarely see campaigns have messages or campaigns or ballot measures, speaking broadly, have messages that are this intense. Typically in our industry, if a message is hitting 40%, that's what we are looking for as the kind of the benchmark to move folks. So you all actually have kind of an abundance of riches in terms of messaging. And I feel confident that these are very strong messages.
Thank you. Sorry, went on a line.
Yeah, and again, just to reiterate, to Kate's point was saying to just provide the context again. So these were statements where we asked people how convincing they were. And so again, it was more about how convincing this is as a reason to support this measure. It's not kind of your support for the measure having heard this, right? That was asked after they heard the statements, basically.
Any other board members with comments? Yeah, Trustee Battenfeld.
Yeah, one of the questions I had was, when you saw the sample, proposed continue the bond measure, there was an amount. And does that have an impact, or did you test, or I just don't know where we came up, the beginning where it mentions 800 authorizing 830 million in bonds.
Yeah.
I'm just wondering your thoughts on how that was chosen, or how it works with different amounts, or.
Yeah, and the team can definitely speak a little bit more to the finances. I will say in the fall, we tested both a higher and the 970 and the 830. And while there wasn't really a statistical difference between the two at the time, with the $830 million bond, we could say that we're not increasing tax rates, and just being in this high cost of living environment, we've seen that that's really important to communities. And so that was part of kind of why we moved there, but I think Kate can speak better to them.
Yeah, so the 830 million is the ceiling that would be allowable under the current tax rate based on current assessed values in the county. So that is just the highest threshold. What actually goes on there will be part of the discussions if we decide to move forward.
So that's something we would determine what's in a reasonable, and that's something maybe we could just, that you could present at our next meeting is what do we actually need? Obviously, we need more than we always,
Yes.
but what's in versus, we could do it with this. It would be great to have this, or I understand now that's the legal top, because
yeah, that is the maximum
right,
amount
without
that
asking
we could do without
people to
asking.
pay more.
Mhm.
Yeah.
We can definitely bring back the breakdown of the various types of need that went into our overarching initial assessment at the May 21st
and that's
meeting.
something I would definitely be interested in seeing, especially if we're looking at just the budget, other needs versus facility needs, and what are we going to absolutely need, and what's going to happen, like if we don't have this, where's the money going to come from, or if we're not going to be able to do it, things like that. So
definitely, if there's additional information that will be helpful for the discussion on May 21st, please let us know. We'll be happy to provide it and bring it to help inform the conversation.
And actually, since you asked, the one thing I would, because I don't, just the timeline of if we were to do it, what's the timeline and the process for putting a ballot measure on? Because, like, do we just decide to do it and later we decide the wording and the funding, and then does it need one or two readings? And, again, just some kind of timeline about.
I'm going to invite Lauren up because I think that that's good information to have now, because it will need to go to move forward. It will need to go in June.
Oh, okay.
Hi, trustees. I'm Lauren Ash with Team Civics, the consultant on the potential revenue measure So yes, you would pass a resolution to place this on the ballot over the summer. And that would include a project list, and it would also include the ballot question. That's what we're looking at here on the screen here. And that bond project list would be, something that you would be legally held to and vetted as a board if this were to be placed on the ballot. So you have until the first Friday in August, August 7th, to pass that resolution. For you, we're looking at targeting a potential meeting in June, given your summer meeting schedule. And then after you have voted to place this resolution on the ballot, it would, then be submitted to the Sonoma County Registrar of Voters, and, you transition to a private advocacy committee, and the district would communicate about the bond still in an informational way, but of course would be prohibited from any advocacy work and spending any public dollars on a campaign.
Okay, thank you. So everything's decided. Basically, we decide everything all at once, pretty much.
So the intent is to allow time for the conversation to happen in May,
Right.
if there's any additional information. And then if we decide to move forward, yeah, it would be June.
Okay.
Just to be clear, we'll have a projects list for the May meeting.
We will have a sort of projects list.
Yeah, prepared by your bond counsel.
Yeah.
May I just make a statement and announcement? So
Please do.
because we're referencing May 21st, and so the board has elected to hold a special study session on May 21, which will be noticed to the community. But I just wanted to clarify that in case people were wondering, why are they keep talking about a May meeting? It's May 21st. And just for transparency purposes, that date, I've communicated that during consultations with Senates and unions, so they've been aware that this was something that the trustees were interested in. So just wanted to provide that context as to why trustees keep asking about the May 21st meeting.
Apologies.
Thanks for that clarification. If we can get that posted online too, like by tomorrow, I'd like to get the at least notice of the meeting on our general schedule. I'll take public comment in a minute. This question is to Team Civic and and Barry, if he's online. I just want to get your conclusion and feeling too. I want you to vocalize it in terms of how you're feeling about these results, given what you've been seeing with other outcomes in your professional experience.
Yes, hi. Go ahead, Lauren. Go ahead.
No, if you want to take it, I'm happy to have you take it.
I'll just really quickly say, and you're in great hands with Lauren there, but we were pleasantly surprised to see that the numbers grew from last fall due to the college's outreach and communications. And, you don't always see a growth of support, especially given the cost of living concerns that have come up. So, we feel good about it, confident about it, ready to talk more about it on the 21st. And, after doing the last two bond measures dating back to the 2004, every public agency, nobody has numbers that are as good now as they were 20 years ago, but these are good, and it's especially good compared to the fall.
Thank you. I appreciate that you driving that point home. Any other board members with any other questions? Trustee Battenfeld?
This is kind of a related question, but I assume you're working for other colleges or counties or entities. So how are these numbers comparing to what you're seeing?
Well, I'll just say that I have a measure in Santa Clara County. It's not a college, but it's a countywide measure that was in the field with a poll almost exactly the same time yours was. And they also saw a similar bump of support compared to the fall. So it was remarkable enough. Again, I'm not saying, there's a lot of volatility. And there's also a lot of time between now and November, as Lauren mentioned, and Lucia as well. But, That said, there are some districts that have had a rough time ever passing a measure, and they're still going to have a tough time. But considering SRJC has had very strong support for 2 measures over the last 20 plus years, we feel confident in recommending it for consideration.
Thank you. All right, one last check to board members for any questions or comments on this. We will move to public comment on this item. Anyone in the room with public comments on it? Sandy, please go ahead. Could you go to the microphone just so that people online could hear it? Sorry.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes. I have a concern, unless I misunderstood at the beginning of this presentation, that you addressed a little over 600 Sonoma County taxpayers to get this report today. And maybe my numbers I didn't hear it correctly. And out of those numbers that you brought this report from, how many of these individuals are homeowners who are going to have to carry this burden of the bond? Because the homeowner taxes that we pay every year, we're the ones that are going to pay for this money to pay the bond. So I'm just concerned about that because I'm going to be retiring pretty soon. I don't know how long this is. I'll be dead by the time this is over. So I'm just concerned about that. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else in the room with public comments? And now we'll go to the online public comments. What does that say, Patty? I can't really read that.
Yes, it says Patty.
Patty Collis, please go ahead. You have 3 minutes.
Thank you. My question is similar to Sandy's, but I would like to know, how did you determine just 655 people were a sufficient enough sample to get positive results to help encourage moving a bond measure forward? And do you think that's enough people, considering the voting base here in Sonoma County? Whether that was sort of the same scenario we used in the last bond measures, as you've all mentioned, this is different times. And I just think, I don't know how that's a sufficient enough sample to say this is a positive enough feedback to move forward with the bond measure. And was that sample given the yes, they don't want taxes to increase, but as Sandy said, this will go on for years and years and years. It just extends out what we're already paying. So maybe if you can answer some of that now, that would be great. If it has to come back to the May board meeting, that's fine. But considering the size of our county, 655 sample voters does not seem sufficient enough to give us a positive enough feedback to go forward.
Thank you. We don't engage in a back and forth with members of the public asking questions on this. And so I don't want to start that trend.
Yeah. No, I know that.
So I appreciate you, but I will pose the question. So can you just provide a little bit about how statistics work and why it's mathematically valid?
Yeah. So when we use, what we do is we pull a sample basically of registered voters, and we are using probability sampling, and we're setting demographic quotas to ensure that our sample matches kind of the demographics and the geographic spread of the county's electorate that's likely to participate in November 2026. And so when we set those parameters and sample that way, we can attribute a margin of error of plus or minus 4% at the 95% confidence interval. That means that if we did this survey 100 times, 95 of those times, it would be coming in within that plus or minus 4-point margin. I'll add that in terms of the actual sample size, I don't remember exactly how many we did in 2014, but for a county wide survey, a 600 sample is kind of the pretty standard sampling approach. In fact, I've actually done statewide surveys on 600. Some of the national surveys we see on voters sometimes are 800, 1,000. So it is a very robust sample. So we do feel confident about that approach.
Thank you for answering my question, which just happened to be the same one that a couple other people had. Thank you very much. We will move on to the next item. The ice hockey team is going to be moving in here pretty soon. It's freezing. So we'll go on. Items C6 through C9 are informational only, no presentation, but I will see if any members of the board have questions or comments on those, or if any members of the public wish to speak on those, either in the room or online. Seeing none, we will move on to our consent agenda. That's items D1 through D9, with D10 being the approval. Do I have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda? Any public comment on this item in the room or online? Seeing and hearing none. Student trustee Clark.
Aye.
All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed or abstain? The ayes have it. That takes us to our action item, starting with item E1, personnel actions. Do I have a motion and a second? Any public comment on this item here in the room or online, or board members wishing to speak? Seeing and hearing none. Student trustee Clark.
Aye.
All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed or abstain? The ayes have it. Next, item E2, March 21st through April 17, 2026 warrants. Do I have a motion and a second? Any public comments here on this item in the room or online, or board members wishing to speak? Seeing none. Student trustee Clark.
Aye.
All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed or abstain? This item is approved. Next, item E3, instructionally related course fees effective fall 2026. Do I have a motion and a second? Any public comments here in the room or online?
Aye.
All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed or abstain? The ayes have it. Next, item E4, instructor load reports for spring 2026. Do I have a motion and a second? Any public comments on this item, or board members wishing to speak? With there being none, student trustee Clark.
Aye.
All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed or abstain? One abstention. That is approved. Next, we are to item E5, CCAP memorandums of understanding. And as a reminder, as this item is being going to be moved as the agenda was amended earlier in the day, if you can remember back that far. So again, that is Petaluma City Schools was that particular MOU is being removed while it's still being worked out. And then the item is clarifying that this is in fact not a first reading, but approval. This does not need to come back for second reading. So with that understanding of the motion, do I have a motion and a second? That's a kind of enthusiasm I like to see. All right. Any public comment on this item here in the room or online, or board members wishing to discuss it? Seeing none. Student trustee Clark.
Aye.
All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed or abstain? All right. The ayes have it. Next up, item E6, SEIU Local 1021 and the district's tentative contract agreements for 25-26. Do I have a motion and a second? Any public comment on this, or board members wishing to speak? I'll just say congratulations to SEIU. Sorry you don't get a long break after that, because you're moving right on to the next one, but thank you for working with us. I will call the vote. Student trustee Clark.
Aye.
All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed or abstain? The ayes have it. Next up, E7, the SEIU Local 1021 and District 20 reopeners for 25-26 negotiations. Do I have a motion and a second? Any public comments on this item? Seeing and hearing none, or any board members wishing to speak? Student trustee Clark.
Aye.
All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed or abstain? The ayes have it. Next, item E8, quarterly financial report. Do I have a motion and a second? Any public comments on this item here in the room or online, or board members wishing to speak? Seeing none, student trustee Clark.
Aye.
All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed or abstain? The ayes have it. Next up, E9, consideration to enter into employment agreements for unrepresented employees, academic administrators. All right, buckle up. Government Code Section 54953C3 requires that before taking final action, the Board of Trustees must orally report summary of the recommendations regarding the salary schedules, or compensation paid in the form of fringe benefits of a local agency executives. Therefore, I'm reporting the following summaries regarding each of the items appearing on this agenda. Joshua Adams, Dean, Academic Affairs at range 34, step E, with an annual salary of $230,604 from July 1, 2026 to June 30th, 2028, with an 11th year longevity stipend and health and welfare benefits granted to management employees. Robert Ethington, Senior Dean of Students at range 34, step E, with an annual salary of $230,604 from July 1, 2026 to June 30th, 2028, with a 21st year longevity stipend and health and welfare benefits granted to management employees. Dr. Robert Holcomb, Vice President, Academic Affairs / Assistant Superintendent at range 42, step E, with an annual salary of $280,980 from July 1, 2026 to June 30th, 2028, with a 2% doctoral stipend and health and welfare benefits granted to management employees. Dr. Molly Senecal, Vice President, Student Services / Assistant Superintendent at range 42, step E, with an annual salary of $280,980 from July 1, 2026 to June 30th, 2028, with a 2% doctoral stipend and health and welfare benefits granted to management employees. Melise Warner, Director, Early Childhood Education at range 25, step E, with an annual salary of $184,656 from July 1, 2026 to June 30th, 2028, with an 11th year longevity stipend and health and welfare benefits granted to management employees. Do I have a motion and a second? Any public comment on this item here in the room or online, or board members wishing to discuss it? Seeing and hearing none, student trustee Clark.
Aye.
All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed or abstain? The ayes have it. All right, next up, resolution 8-26, changes to the adopted budget. Do I have a motion and a second? Any public comments wishing to speak on this? Seeing none, this requires a roll call vote. Kehlani, please call the roll.
Student trustee Clark.
Aye.
Trustee Bailey. Aye. Trustee Battenfeld. Trustee Bricker. Trustee Fishman. Trustee Martinez. Trustee Vadavinos.
That measure is approved. Next up, E11, resolution 9-26, final action and resolution and decision not to reemploy classified employees for 26-27 school year. Do I have a motion and a second on this item? Any public comment on this item here in the room or online, or board members wishing to comment? Seeing none, this also requires a roll call vote. Lonnie, please call the roll.
Student trustee Clark.
Aye.
Trustee Bailey. Aye. Trustee Battenfeld. Aye. Trustee Bricker. Trustee Fishman. Trustee Martinez. Trustee Vadavinos. Trustee Shaban.
Aye. All right. With that, I appreciate everyone who stuck it out to the end. I am going to adjourn this meeting.